Consulate between these two teams. We'll start off with the operator bans.
And that's going to be Cloud9, since they are playing on defense, banning first. And they will get rid of Lion. Obey on the next attacker ban. We'll see who they choose to take care of, and it's going to be Blackbeard. Interesting. So that makes a lot of sense. That makes a whole bunch of sense on a map like Consulate, and with Laxing in play, not wanting that to even be a factor. Yeah.
Retro as well.
Yeah, Retro
has been playing Blackbeard quite a bit on Consulate. They used to have Laxing to flex onto that, but I mean, that means that Laxing's Glaz will also remain unbanned too.
Yeah, good point. Echo being banned out as the first defender. And as an operator, definitely very powerful, especially on that basement site. You deny the plant in front of White Van. Valkyrie also being taken care of, so lots of information clamped down here for the defense, as you can see. Valkyrie, of course, with some cameras outside, can aid the defense quite a lot, but it's not going to happen here in this match. All right, so it's going to be a top floor hold to start things off from Cloud9. The lineup, as you can see from Obey, is just, you know, tools for any job, no matter what it would be. You got to bring that thermite just in case it is a basement hold first time around. Need the versatility of the Hard Destructor. Thatcher as well, but it looks like it's going to be possibly 6 picked under the Thatcher, considering the last minute change there, or a pick at the Jackal. I guess it's going to depend on what Obey think their opponents are going to. And yeah, actually, here we go. So transitions. The Valkyrie being banned, you don't necessarily need an IQ, and bringing the Buck is going to aid you no matter where you're attacking on this map. And meanwhile, yeah, I think this is a really good change from Obey.
Yeah, overall, a smart pick. I'm quite happy with this. C9, couple things to focus on here. A lot of times their roam is going to focus on Laxing and Mark's play together. The counterplay that they can end up having to deal with, and then the way that their opponents can crack that. Now, Obey happens to have some pretty sufficient entry fraggers on their team. How are they going to be able to deal with the clash? That is something that I'm going to keep an eye upon, and I'm sure most people will as well, because the versatility of Clash as an operator and her strengths in a lot of different ways make her quite a pest to have to deal with. You know, if you can bleed the attacker's utility dry and make it so that they don't really have much gadgetry to deal with you after, you know, an entire push happens, then you're in pretty good position with Clash. At that point, you usually need to engage her one-on-one.
You can see Obey wary of the potential open angles. Consulate being a very heavy outside peeking type of map. Not necessarily spawn peeking really, but just, you know, peeking outside as a defender. This is a powerful tool on this map, and it is something that you need to consider. That Valkyrie ban is going to be a hindrance to that whole, you know, mindset, but it's still something that can be used. Bosco, aware of Foxay, who was roaming downstairs, likely to a drone. And you can see that he's holding the angle, waiting for the push to Zulu, but it's not going to happen. The Jackal track is going to force the Pulse to fall back upstairs. Definitely the right call for Foxay to retreat. And good job to the Jackal, forcing him to do so.
For those that are curious, Zulu is the spot downstairs, just outside of Yellow Stairs, where Bosco is playing right now. It looks like a Z or a Z, depending on where you are. I guess for the U.S. Nationals, it's a Z. For some people, it's Z. But anyway, they call it Zulu just because it looks like a Z shape upside down.
I was born Z, but I say Z.
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
That's a very, very fair point. First kill, my man. Gone from action, Capitao, and that is one of the direct counters to Clash as well. So Laxing, who very conveniently managed to get that kill in a bit of a cruel irony here onto my man. That's going to be not just the asphyxiating bolts and smoke down, it's going to be the second set of smokes because you still have a Jackal available for Obey.
Yeah.
Laxing doing a great job at drawing the fire on Yellow Stairs, then Mark will come in to capitalize off a distracted Benji, and now with Laxing retreating into the bathroom, you've got Goddess playing in there too on the Maestro, the LMG. But Laxing just looking the wrong way. I don't think he anticipates Bosco being up there, and that's a very easy kill for Bosco to be able to get. A rare misplay from Laxing, and Bosco playing that one perfectly. Through the desk, Bosco tries to outduel Mark and will manage to get the kill. A very impressive flick as Adam just repels right into console office. But with Bosco down, it means that Adam He's going to be in a 1v2 clutch or kick scenario. Still got the evil eyes up, and they'll track him through connector. That information being given out to Foxaze. Goddess is just going to work her gadgets.
Adam not checking the bathroom. This is very dangerous for him right now. He does not seem aware of the Maestro's position, and ultimately that will be his demise. Goddess, the last kill. Cloud9 take round number 1, defending the top floor.
That round goes totally different if Laxing doesn't just happen to meander into the yellow stairs, sideways exposing himself to Bosco, and then end up getting meleeed. I mean, I think Laxing was just trying to watch and see if somebody on Skylight was up there watching on yellow stairs. I don't think he expected Bosco to be up that close, but you basically gave your life away, and then immediately after that, Bosco was able to just transfer right onto the Jaeger of Mark and basically picked up a double kill there, all because of the misplay of the Clash.
Yeah, of course, if you're unfamiliar, the counter to Clash is just getting within arm's reach of her and, well, meleeing the shield. If you can get it hit, then it will be tossed aside, and it's a really easy kill at that point. So definitely a mistake for Laxing, but ultimately, Cloud9 still being able to win the round despite that. Now, it's going to be a middle floor hold instead of the basement. Interesting that they're doing this. It makes sense. I guess the thought process is they're going to be bringing Thermite for every single round until they know that we're not defending basement, because you kind of have to. If you want to have a good chance of successfully attacking the basement, you need to have a hard destructor, ideally a Thermite, and that's sensible for Cloud9 trying to draw this out as long as possible. If they can also get a win here, maybe go to the new site. I don't know, do something crazy, and then hey, your Thermite will be never useful. Although, I guess attacking the new site, if you're going to come from the basement, you are probably going to clear it from garage. We have seen that happen quite a lot, so we'll see. We'll see. But for now, at least the Thermite will be kind of redundant in terms of utility.
Yeah, like you said, though, Thermite's a pretty good pick. But, I mean, we've also seen teams run Hibana here repeatedly.
Yeah.
Evil Geniuses, when they played this map just a couple weeks ago, they didn't even run a hard breacher half the time. They ran a Hibana once, and that was it. And they made it work without running a hard breacher when they were attacking basement, because they just kept going through server.
Rogue versus Hyper earlier in the USN. It was pretty much the same deal. No Thermite really being brought on the basement. I mean, it was heavy reliance on the Hibana. And it's made it work.
Super, who is paid more than any human on Earth to do nothing other than drone for 2 minutes, open a wall, and then plant the diffuser, and possibly die while showing off incredible athleticism.
Yeah.
He doesn't usually play a Thermite. So, I mean, especially here, we saw him playing the Hibana, as you noted, against Hyper.
So, top floor clear here for Obey. And they're going to start trying to take out any of these roamers who are up in the CEO/bathroom. It's a double ACOG setup, a crossfire for Cloud9, and they're just doing their best to try and slow down this push as much as possible. They've got great angles to do it with, and the right operators to pull it off. And that's going to slow up the Obey push quite a bit. Adam has been downed over in Visa, though it does not seem that Cloud9 is aware of it, so he might be salvaged. No, it's being called out. Laxing trying to secure the kill. Mark will eventually do just that using that SMG. The 2 burst working out great for Mark. And Obey now find themselves at a man disadvantage.
Yeah, I mean, Mark now moving on. Once again, Laxing and Mark just working together in tandem has been such a big contributor to Cloud9's success. And when they typically go quiet, that's when the rest of the team tends to fall apart, because the anchor play is really not always the star of the show for Cloud9. Stun grenades get tossed in by my man as their focus shifts from trying to clear out roamers to now trying to take control of the site and the areas around it. Mark, that clash, is going to be punished from Skies, and Obey will find their very first kill, but they've only got 30 seconds left, so not an abundance of time at their disposal. Skies just will drone out the Rook playing upstairs of Retro and then just absolutely take him down. Pull out that SMG-11, and even at close range, able to get the kill. Great capitalization here from Laxing as he'll team up with Goddess in order to get the information required. That's also Diffuser down. Bosco will drop that diffuser. Laxing looking up on spiral stairs allows Benji to walk in relatively unabated, worrying that he will lose all of his HP. My man is just a couple clicks away, but no, the Evil Eye goes down at the last second. Goddess will have to do the work herself. She sees a dead body, looks for coverage, cannot manage to get Benji. Skies will take out Foxay, and as Goddess last one up, realizing that Obey has the coverage that is needed to prevent Goddess from getting my man. Really good opportunity to completely box her out of the site. And that's Obey equalizing.
So, Obey didn't clear out the top floor, but they managed to isolate those roamers and then simply collapse on the site. Once they knew they had control of the parts of the top floor that they needed in order to allow for a main lobby plant, they just made it happen. So props to Obey for great tactical mind in that round. Cloud9, on the other hand, they were playing an interesting strategy on the top floor whereby they're trying to delay with the two ACOGs and keep that crossfire going in order to get potential free kills. But if Obey doesn't engage it, then it's kind of useless. And that's exactly what Obey did. They just didn't clear the whole top floor, and they chose to attack the site instead, thus forcing those two roamers to retreat down to the site before being useful. And on a retake, they're not very useful. So it can be tricky.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that push also came down to just a good amount of calls that were coming out from Cloud9, and you could tell, and then wrong calls coming out. Mark, or Laxing, lying prone inside of lobby, looking towards the top of spiral stairs. That was an old call that obviously was incorrect, as Benji just crouch walked his way in right to circle desk, you know, from the bottom of spiral stairs, able to take out the Evil Eye as well. And those are contributions right there, with Benji also throwing the smokes to try and get some obscured sight onto the plant, as my man is in the corner by the main door getting the plant down. Overall, that was both Skies and Benji doing a lot of work and some heavy lifting. Skies with 2 kills on that round in particular, and then going off and solo roaming, or solo entering rather, above. We'll see if Cloud9 can tighten it up, because their offsite play wasn't terrible, but losing the clash, I think, with that much time that was still left, was a big hindrance for them.
Their offsite play wasn't terrible, but ultimately it didn't accomplish anything. And that was the problem for Cloud9. You can see they're trying to use something similar yet again. 2 roamers at the top floor, focusing on a crossfire between Connector and the bathroom. Last time it was CEO and the bathroom. And again, this did not work out for them very well in the previous attempt. However, this time it's the basement that's being defended, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll see. Nope, still the middle floor. So we'll see if it's going to change anything, or if this is just going to play out the same way it did last time.
You can hear some shots from Mark playing on the Clash this time around. They're going to run with basically the same thing they did last time, except Foxay will go with the Pulse instead of the Dock. So that ACOG really wasn't as effective, I think, as they wanted. And you bring a Dock, his stim pistol is really good if you're going to play clustered together. But with how spread out that team was, you're basically just bringing him for the MP5 at that point. If Echo wasn't banned, then you could possibly run him in Dock's place. But the Pulse is a pretty comfortable role to find for Foxay on Cloud9.
Again, Cloud9 clearing out in the admin office, and they're going to start their push, but they're not choosing to clear out the entire top floor. They're just forcing the defenders out of Projector, allowing for a plant in the main lobby. Definitely worked out for them great last time, but this time it looks like there might be some more utility in place to deny the plant. You can see Pulse on the Foxay on the Pulse, pardon me, the C4 downstairs, and he's going to be the one who is put in a position to deny this plant, but he's being shot at from server, or likely actually even above, all the way up top, or from the Visa stairs. Either way, the push is coming into the main lobby, and it's going to be on Goddess to deny this diffuse plant. As she rushes out into the main lobby, she is going to get my man one of the flank holds. Meanwhile, Adam trying to get a crossfire will be down in the back hall by Laxing. Mark whips out the SMG, no shield needed, and will take down Benji. So Obey falling apart here as they attempt to push the main lobby. Bosco does get a refrag. It's not all over, but they are going to have to deal with a shield. That's the Clash, and Skies has a great position to deal with that shield using the grenade, but will miss ultimately on the drop. And Mark gets the final kill onto Bosco. Great job to Cloud9 holding that out, and a big part of that was the fact that Clash was able to stay alive throughout the whole round.
Being the focal point there was huge for Mark in particular, and you could see that he almost single-handedly saved Foxay when he got shot out from the hatch that was overlooking server. So this just goes to show you why a lot of these teams are banning out Clash, because if you can keep her alive until the final minute, 30 seconds, etc., of a round, she's just so important and so difficult to deal with. And unless you have a decent numbers advantage, or you can trap her and pin her down with an asphyxiating bolt, you don't have a ton of counterplay with her.
Yeah, I would describe Clash as a sweet spot operator, where in order to play her properly, what you need to do is you need to find yourself in the sweet spot, which is not close enough for the attackers to melee you, but also close enough where you can zap them and influence their push and get their attention focused on you. And Mark did it very well in that last round, so props to him for that. Now it's going to be a top 4 defense once more for Cloud9. They're opting to stay away from the basement. They were successful here on their last attempt, which forced them to go to the middle floor. And see if they can keep that going.
So just opting for the 2 sites over and over again. This looked pretty decently convincing for Cloud9 on this site. The only real scary point for them that Obey was able to take and continue to kind of almost steamroll over C9 was when the Clash of Laxing just played it incorrectly on the stairs and looked the wrong way, and Bosco picked up the double. I mean, if you notice, absent from Cloud9's lineup is a Clash. So this is going to be the first round that they don't run a shield on. And I know that people might wonder why we spend so much time talking about her, but she really is an extremely pivotal operator when it comes down to it on defense. Probably the most pivotal right now outside of maybe a Mira, an Echo, or a Maestro. And even then, I think you make a pretty good argument that she outclasses a couple of those.
So, very light presence on the actual bomb site. Heavy roamers downstairs for Cloud9 right now. Let's see Laxing trying to come up from the Visa stairs. He might actually find a gap here. Foxy still using his pulse sensor all the way down in the basement. Just looking for some information. Now, the light site presence is going to allow for Obey to take control of A with relative ease. They do have the utility to isolate it using those smokes and firebolts. The problem is that there's still C4 from below, and there's Evil Eyes in the site itself. So the denial is still in hand for Cloud9, which is going to make this push for Obey that much more complicated. We do have good ways to stop it from being useful, though. Of course, the Zofia and the Sledge can take care of that Evil Eye once push comes to shove.
And then you have Goddess holding a tight angle here inside a bathroom, a nice long angle. This is one thing that a lot of teams will do upstairs. Cloud9 is by no means any different. Foxay could possibly go for a kill here, and oh no, he ends up hitting the beam. He doesn't get anything that he needs from it. I don't even know if he's aware that he can get a kill through that floor. I don't think that part of the floor is actually penetrable.
I don't think it is either. Nice shot from Laxing, given too many opportunities to get a kill onto my man, but look at that, the diffuser's been planted. Skies will get Mark as he attempts to retake upstairs, and A site control is still well in hand for the attackers. Adam gets Foxay, but Goddess able to peek from long desk and get a kill of her own, and somehow comes away from that engagement unscathed. Retro will die on the entry. Great angle there from Skies, but Goddess still in play. In fact, the last defender in play, trying to get the angles, but cannot find them in time, and Obey will take the round.
Well, that is disorienting. Thank you, Alex.
Yeah, he's been disorienting to spectate for this match so far.
Obviously very pumped. Obey looking to head to what would be their third LAN if they do end up winning this matchup between the teams. Cloud9 has already got quite a number under their belt. But, man, I mean, that was Cloud9 playing very, very loose and just Obey capitalizing. Every time they found somebody, they seemed to be winning. The great run out from Laxing, by the way, onto that balcony in order to catch my man who was playing up, trying to watch into the site and projector. But, I mean, at that point, that's really all you got going. You know, they were able to pick up one more kill afterwards, and then it ended. And it was a complete lockout from Obey. Goddess, I mean, you can clutch absolutely with that Alda, but you had two operators lined up on one side, another operating on the other. You're probably not going to be able to walk away with that with your life intact.
It's an excellent gun, but it's definitely not enough to find yourself out of that precarious situation. Now,
So, going downstairs to Garage here, immediate thoughts on this lineup that's being brought out, given that Mira remained unbanned and we'll finally see her.
Yeah, it's cool to see her in play, and she will be used for a roam inside of the bathroom. Definitely a good position to use this operator. Not many other good places for the Black Mirror. You know, the one inside of Garage is not great, and we don't often see it be useful. It will also be brought, though, because why not? The setup from the rest of Cloud9 is pretty standard.
All right, we'll get underway with round number 5 here. Pretty standard, as you say. Still singular hard breacher. Adam has been put on the hard breach role now. As I'd said before, when we watched them play on Oregon for quite a while, Adam was tasked with doing the Thatcher role, but that's not obviously here. He's going to be doing the hard breach duty. Obey not being the most flexible team in their roles overall. You typically tend to see, you know, Skies and Bosco, maybe Skies and Maman being the entry fraggers. Sometimes you might see Skies do some entry clear with some droning to try and help maybe Maman, and then have Benji on the ultimate support role with Adam picking up the pieces. But, I mean, outside of that, they don't really need a lot of versatility. As I say that, Benji, who was the second pair of smokes, still have the Capitao available, will meet his fate at the hands of a C4 being tossed out by Laxing. So, a good kill from that Bandit C4.
Very important kill as well. The roamers are all cleared at this point, forced down to the site, but at the same time, even site presence from Jackal is pretty important. I say it, roamers are all cleared, but we do technically still have one inside of the bathroom, and that's on the middle floor, trying to hold out as long as he possibly can using that mirror window. Obey have spent a lot of time taking the top floor. The fact that they still have a last hurdle to get to before they can clear the site is not fantastic. Now, they've opened up the garage, or so it sounds, which is exactly what they need to start a site push. That last roamer inside the bathroom is still holding on. That's Mark doing his best to delay this. And he has been spotted out in this corner. The lifeline will give probably a very easy kill to Bosco. And yeah, there it is. Mark takes out Skies, though, before Bosco was able to eliminate him. So not a wasted roam, and lots of time wasted as well. Bosco gets another, though, as he peeks down onto Foxe, who was using a pre-opened hole, I believe, that the defenders made.
I'm amazed that Foxe was not able to land the shots that he needed there onto that kill. That should have been one that he walked away from, but he missed the first couple blasts through that opening, as you mentioned. So 3v3 with 30 seconds to go, in the thick of it, as tons of opportunity for Obey to be able to cleave off parts of this site. And there you go. Smokes from Capitao. Adam is going to go in. Default plant on the front of White Van, and his fixating bolts will follow just to try to make sure that C9 cannot come back in for the retake. Goddess gets the mark for the Capitao, shreds him at close range with that Vector. Bosco gets one, and Goddess will get the down on the Adam, followed up with the Evil Eye from Retro claiming the kill. It's going to be all left to Bosco as Retro with that AD, with the ACOG, is going to possibly go hunting. He's going to look towards the side of White, but this is a very, White Van, but this is very winnable for Bosco. If Bosco can land his shots, he can turn around and get this, but a miraculous effort from Goddess to control that Vector at long range amidst those marble pillars outside. Huge for Cloud9, and they will walk away from the first half with the 3-2 scoreline. Overall, a pretty good effort there.
Yeah, that was an excellent shot from Goddess to get that round victory. And if it had not been for her, I believe that would have been an Obey round, because we've been seeing this a lot, actually, from Cloud9 play, especially on defense, where there's always roamers and fraggers who are pivoting around the anchors from Cloud9, but it always seems to be Goddess who finds herself in the epicenter of that and somehow putting in a lot of work for her team as of late. So props to her for that, and that's the reason Cloud9 are going to take the half 3-2.
Yeah, I mean, you've also got to give credit a couple times, I think, on Obey's side of things with the support play that you saw from Benji. I mean, him being an early pick this time was pretty detrimental. You lost 2 smokes. That's a lot of control that is wrestled away from the defenders when you can get those smokes down. The Evil Eyes kind of negate the advantage that smoke brings with it, but at the end of the day, losing Benji right at the start gave a huge, I guess, boost of support and some morale to Cloud9 to realize that you had a high priority target. You can't really get pinned down because you haven't really seen Obey running any of those, operators that paralyze you, so to speak. Dokkaebi, for example, Lion is banned. They're not running a Ying. But as now we switch to Cloud9 on attack, I would imagine that we're going to see Goddess fulfilling that hard breach role, likely have Foxay there as the secondary hard breach. They've been doing a lot of duo work with the Thermite as well as the Hibana. And then I'm going to probably suspect that you might see Laxing pull out the Glaz at some point. It won't happen on the first round, though. Retro will run a Dokkaebi instead, as one of his primary operators in Blackbeard has been banned, and Laxing will go on Capitao. And Capitao sees quite a bit more play than he has over the last couple seasons, but especially on Consulate, he seems to be a stable pick as of late.
I mean, he's useful pretty much everywhere that you need smokes. You can add on to that the asphyxiating bolts, and it becomes an even more powerful pick. So, I think he's been falling into the meta recently, and in the same way that we've seen now Coastline being a bit of a trended map. These things do happen. Obviously, they'll change over time. Mirror window in the middle of the garage, just trying to give information to a potential C4, I'm guessing. There is no bandit, so no bandit tricking at play. Mute Jammer is going to slow things down a little bit, but not really mute tricking isn't really a thing. So, a non-starter on the garage, but still information being the focus here for Obey's defense. Because you don't have that Valkyrie, you need to gather it somehow. Still do think Valkyrie ban was excellent from Cloud9 on a map like Consulate. Top floor here, you can see that Cloud9's just trying to put on some pressure and clear out these roamers one at a time. But unlike Obey, their drone on the top floor, their droning on the top floor has not been excellent. Oh, I say that, an excellent mark from Goddess onto my man is going to force him to maneuver. But the follow-up just isn't there.
I mean, he'll make it alive into Yellow Stairs, but he's going to get pinned down. If there's somebody watching Skylight, which we know there isn't, it's going to be a very short life expectancy here for the Legion. Still in a very precarious position. You saw that Laxing pulled off of Garage to just try and hold the angle onto Yellow. So with my man now having to silence his phone, it could only be a matter of time.
Yeah, this has been a very slow clear for Cloud9. This is a stark contrast to what we were seeing from Obey. And Retro is going to win the fight against Legion of a man, but at what cost, really? 2 whole minutes. He also gets the camera control, though, playing on Dokkaebi, which is going to aid the attack quite a bit, considering how useful some of these default cams can be, actually. In the main garage, Obey's going to need to shoot those at some point.
Easy for Cloud9 to be able to open up that garage, but one smoke dart will be used from the Capitao of Laxing. It'll be met with that yellow mist that gets thrown out from the toxic canisters of Bosco, playing on probably his most favorite operator here on defense. Here goes another smoke, and yet another smoke, and a toxic canister as well. Keep in mind with Retro on the board, they do have more than one set of smokes. A great shot from Mark on the Skies as Skies inside a server tries to work his way out. But here comes a big push! Oh, Benji with the double kill! Laxing is there to trade it off, but they're running out of time. He's going to run right into Bosco. He'll pull out the shotgun, and boom goes the dynamite, but Foxay above, 1 second left. Obey, excellent job, and Benji in particular comes in and saves the day for his team. She might not be quick, but slow and steady sometimes wins that race. And indeed, it's Obey being able to take the round, especially off of the play of Benji.
Seriously, props to Benji there for that push, making it work through the smoke. He sets up, and it really worked out in his favor. Now, one thing I have to question is Laxing's decision to push Kitchen with 15 seconds left, diffuser in hand. Benji had been eliminated. Back of white was clearly, well, it was clear. And based on how Laxing was playing that, he was aware of that. So his decision to push instead of attempt to possibly plant, considering he still had teammates to support him, was a little bit confusing to me. There was a theoretical plant scenario there for Cloud9, but it just didn't happen. They were setting themselves up perfectly for it, but it could not work out.
Yeah, I don't understand the reasoning behind pushing in the kitchen there, unless they thought that they had somebody pinned down and that was the call that was made. You know, you're running out of time. You know that there might still be a C4 in play. You don't know. There might still be a toxic canister in play. You might not know if they haven't done the best job of you know, maybe managing the opponent's utility.
There's definitely a lot of unknowns there, and the push in that context makes sense. But at the same time, I'm not, you know, ultimately, if it's all up to the unknowns, then it's a 50-50 split, and there's impossible to really critique. You know, it could be that yeah, there's still a gas canister in play, and if you start planting, you're gonna die. It could be the fact that they're going to allow you to plant because they're still inside a kitchen. The way it was shaping up there, it did look like a plant might have been allowed. But it's all said and done now, and Cloud9 will have to attack onto the top floor next.
And they're just making a beeline for it. Goddess moving on to the Ying. So they're not going to run a single hard breacher here, and I think they realize that with Obey winning downstairs in Garage, they don't necessarily need a hard breacher. This is something that's happened a couple times on Consulate now. You can just kind of duke it out and not have to worry about blowing anything open. When you look upstairs, your hard breacher's focus is going to likely be used on where exactly? Maybe on the top of yellow stairs, but even then, a lot of times teams will, you know, opt not to open it up. So it's going to definitely be a disrupt and discombobulate style of strategy here for Cloud9, especially with the Capitao, Dokkaebi, and Ying. That can be a very lethal combination. And then, of course, you've got Mark there with the concussions just to lock him down 3 times at least.
Yet again, Cloud9 very slow on clearing the top floor. We saw this from them last time they attempted to do so in the previous round. And now that it is actually a defense of the top floor, slowing down even more. Adam's going to eat some damage on the yellow stairs to a well-placed grenade. It's going to put him down to about 25 HP. Not a great position to be in. Mark will take out my man as well, so the castle gone. It's been some great work here so far from the Zofia. It's looking good for Cloud9. They've managed to establish the angles to do enough damage to Obey, which will soften them up. They don't really have a clear, decided push. It's likely going to be well, it's obviously at this point going to be a CEO push. You've got the Capitao in play, which means you can, just move around those ADSs. You've got an extra set of smokes from Retro. If you clear out the ADSs, then you're already starting to use the utility to establish a position to plant inside of that CEO office. The crossfire from the bathroom window or connector window is going to also work out great.
I mean, one of the things that Cloud9 has really invested in here is just opening up lines of sight. And that is going to consistently haunt Obey, especially with how precarious this hold is from Obey. But as I say that, Laxing goes down to Adam, gets traded off by Foxay, so at least they fight for the draw. All these Candelas from Goddess are just going to get dumped right in, and she dives in amidst the smoke and goes for a plant, assuming that there will be coverage on yellow stairs. This could be very dangerous, but a huge C4 from Skies, and Benji as well. This could possibly be a lockout from Cloud9. Retro with that SMG-12 able to wrangle the recoil as Mark gets one, but there's only one body left in Skies. He's going to have to go frag chasing here as Mark does not have time, and Skies wisely reads that and just continues to run away. Run. Forest, run. The Pulse will hang on, and that is Obey putting 2 in a row now here on defense.
Putting themselves up 4-3. Like you said, a really good read there from Obey and Skies in particular. The hero of the round with the C4 from below. If it had not been for him, it likely would have been an easy plant for Cloud9. They were setting themselves up so perfectly. We see that yet again. Cloud9 have the right strategy, the right setup. Slow execution, sure, maybe a little bit, but ultimately done within a reasonable amount of time. The only problem is, despite all of the backups they had, the 2 people they had in a position to pick up that diffuser and plant it, and them accounting for the potential of a C4, despite that, there was just always another layer of the defense for Obey. Always somebody else ready to throw themselves at the diffuse plant and deny it outright. And then ultimately just came down to, yeah, the time is finally caught up, and Skies is able to just run away.
I mean, another big part of that was just Cloud9 did not clear the main floor at all. You know, that's how Skies was able to get the C4 from below. That's how it took Mark until the final 10 seconds to finally clear out yellow. C9 basically committed fully to taking bathroom and then trying to pressure into console office. That was really it. And it didn't really do much outside of that. I think they were a pretty big victim of poor clock management. And Obey just needed to wait for them to rappel right in. You're very vulnerable when you manage to get in. You got a pulse beneath you. That's going to be very difficult. And there's a lot of coverage with the range of that cardiac sensor to give all the information to your teammates that you need. And Obey just made the changes that they needed. Having somebody playing in connector, having somebody playing at the top of yellow, and then having Skies just continue to run away after getting probably the most important kill, which was getting that diffuser down.
So, top floor now. Or so it seems. Nope, middle floor, pardon me. It's always hard to tell with Consulate. It's all over the place because if you're defending the bottom floor, you're going to have 2 people on the top floor. If you're defending the middle floor, you're going to have 3 or 2 people on the top floor. If you're defending the top floor, you're going to have 2 or 3 people on the top floor. And then at least 1 or 2 in the middle floor, maybe 1 on the basement. There's never any like accountability for your operator positioning on this map. It's just, hey, are you defending Consulate? Okay, you're defending the whole map. So, setup here from Cloud9 yet again, trying to clear out these roamers on the top floor. They haven't had the best of luck with doing just that.
No, not at all. I mean, Skies did get spotted inside a copier. Mark wasn't quite quick enough on the draw to be able to jump on it. So now instead Mark and Fox A have just been able to take over admin by themselves. They're going to have to try to take as quickly as they can that projector room upstairs where Bosco is playing, and Adam, who has his back exposed to a possible push if Bosco doesn't notice it, as that's Adam playing in connector. But Laxing, once again, picked off early on, this time as the Ash, and then Skies will pick up his second kill as he goes for the run out, and he makes himself vulnerable for just a second, but gets back in through the bottom of yellow stairs unscathed. 2 pretty big kills there onto both Laxing as well as Retro. Those are huge priority targets onto the entry fragging Ash as well as the Dokkaebi. And now a ping will give him a man a bit of information as Adam looks like he's trying to capitalize on it, playing at the long desk as Adam will move into connector, and he has the open window to watch towards balcony, all the while Skies still very much on the roam. He's completely elusive downstairs. This is excellent for Obey to put this on a match point.
Cloud9 just lingering again on the windows. We've seen a lot of this from them. Nice angle play from Adam. He's going to be able to take out Mark before Skies getting yet another kill onto Fox A. Leaving just Goddess on the balcony, and Bosco finishes her off. Obey take the round. We go to match point 5-3. Obey's favor. They have not wavered on this defensive half.
No, I mean, this has been an absolute defensive lockout here, which is interesting to me that with Lion and Blackbeard banned, every hard breacher on the board, Ying still in play, Glaz still in play, shield operators available, that we're not seeing really anything start from Cloud9. Nothing even close. I mean, even on attack, C9 got the 3 defensive rounds. That's been tied by Obey's total, and Obey looks to continue pushing forward. They can go back downstairs as the lobby is, or rather, as they just went to lobby and it'll be locked, but down to garage, there they'll go. And this was a pretty convincing hold from Obey last time around. I wouldn't see that much of a difference in their play. Because of the mirror usage coming out now, I don't know if this has been a direct swap to counter that or not, but after Laxing fell off of Blackbeard a couple seasons ago, he took up arms with Twitch on attack and did quite a good job. Of course, having one of the best weapons on attack in the hands of somebody who lands their shots, and has pretty good game sense in Laxing, well, it's going to go a long way. But on top of that, the drones being crucial to take out any possible yokai drones, which don't matter in this matchup because there's no echo that's available to take out or to stop at least the evil eye cams, to get any mirror windows, take out ADSs, bandit batteries, mute jammers, etc. So the gadget is going to help Laxing, but more importantly, this could be what he needs, because right now he hasn't really been able to get the kills that his team requires of him. Right now it's been almost solely Mark carrying that banner.
And Mark's been putting in some great work for his team, that's for sure. Obey have set themselves up now in the bathroom. Yet again, we've seen this roamer strategy inside a bathroom, and this is a common occurrence. worked out well for Cloud9, and that was Mark actually pulling it off himself. So we'll see if Obey are able to make it work for them now that they're on the basement once more. The overall strategy for Cloud9, again, is going to be clearing the top floor. Now, this time, it doesn't look like they have to deal with very many roamers. This time, it looks like Obey is going to be mostly on the site. At least on the top floor, not a problem. However, despite not having to deal with any roamers on the top floor, they are also taking this as slow as they have been throughout the rest of the match. Laxing's going to get a mirror window. Very important that he did just that. He's also going to try and go for some batteries. Now, this is dangerous, but if he can get 2 batteries, he can guarantee the possibility of opening up that garage. There you go. You got 3. Impressively done for Laxing. Great Twitch drone play in the round, and he's going to be able to call out the lack of bandit tricking right now. As Adam snuggles up next to that garage wall once more, Goddess is going to be slow on the trigger. Wrong trick for Adam, and the garage will open up. Well done to Goddess, and a slight misplay there from Adam will cost Obey some defensive favor.
That's tricky that he wasn't able to get that down pat. You know, I mean, that was pretty clear cut right in the center of the garage. I am quite surprised that he wasn't able to read that correctly. But now with the second panel getting opened up right next to it, instead of being able to do much to stop the panel as well, Adam is going to go for frags himself, and Goddess, after opening up both walls, will be rewarded by a bit of an early death here. Just over a minute left to play with match point in favor of Obey. They really haven't been found for the time being. The drone usage from C9, I think, has been shut down by a lot of these mute jammers. Adam trying to go for just, I guess, a crawl on the floor. Maybe trying to get an angle underneath the white van, but will get spotted by Laxing. And once again, that fire rate of the F2 makes easy work of most foes that end up crossing it. And Adam will be no different. Toxic Babe gets thrown out towards the gaping maw of the garage from Bosco, who now situates himself back inside of that staff cafeteria. Keep in mind, you've also still got Benji playing up at the pillars here with my man inside of the small office. So unless you can get somebody from Cloud9 to wreak havoc from above, this is very well an easy lockout for Obey. And it's going to be Fox A up above. C4 gets tossed out from Benji, but he will miss. Oh no, not great timing. Retro goes down, and Skies, a big double kill from Skies, and amidst the smoke, he will defuse as the rest of his team starts to coalesce around him. Dropping will be Fox A, and Bosco will shut him down, and by a score of 6-3, Obey Alliance will walk away with C9's map on Consulate and set us up with Obey's map of Oregon next.
Well, that match was really up in the air until we got to the second half. Once we got to the second half, oh boy, Obey just absolutely locking out Cloud9. I think a big part of that, though, was not necessarily Obey's excellent play, but more to me just Cloud9 being really poor at clearing out those roamers and, in general, establishing any amount of map control. That is something that Cloud9's going to need to work on moving forward for Consulate, because that's basically the whole map encompassed, you know, is like you need to take the top floor. Once you've taken the top floor, then you can start working on the middle floor. Once you've taken the middle floor, then you get to work on the bottom floor. And that works the same way for pretty much every site, except for like, hey, if it's the top floor, then you just take it through the top floor. And even then, sometimes you need to start coming in through the middle. I mean, we saw rounds there where the defense from Obey was successful because they were able to C4 from below. And if you want to counter that, well, you have to clear out the roamers. No matter the scenario, though, Cloud9 struggling with that one particular point, clearing out the roamers, and it did cost them quite a bit when they transitioned to the attacking half.
Yeah, a number of times it really looked like, we just got visited by mute for a second there. A number of times it did look like they just were way too focused on pushing the site. That was it. Not a lot of flexibility. They didn't have much of a focus on droning. And I mean, even then, if you're not going to commit bodies to that first or second floor when you're going on to another site, maybe put a drone there and have somebody watch it. But it didn't seem like they did, because 3 times Skies was literally able to go for a late flank and just eat their lunch and drop out of nowhere and get really high priority targets one by one by one over and over again And I mean, not that Obey can really account for that kind of thing, but as a round opens up and you realize that C9 aren't doing the due diligence in order to keep that information in their control, you can abuse the fact that they don't have a flank watch, they don't have any real claymores to worry about, they don't have a drone. Let's dive on them. And that's exactly what Skies did on at least 2 rounds, in particular on defense, and they were huge parts of why Obey walked away with the victory there.
I mean, look at that last round. Mute jumping out from CEO office. I mean, what is that? Why is nobody on Obey? Not one person watching that run out. It is a very predictable run out, and it is something that you have to account for. Because he was allowed to do that, it was a really easy sweep up for the Mute. I thought that round was going to go Cloud9's favor as soon as the Mira missed her C4, but because Skies was there to get the frags, despite that miss of the C4, follow up from behind, even in the post-plant situation, nah, it was over at that point. There was no way Fox A was going to be able to recover that round, and it's all thanks to Skies being allowed to run out like that. You have to give credit to Skies for seeing that opportunity and seizing it, but you also have to lay it at the feet of Cloud9 for not watching the basic flank.
Yeah, I think both of these teams have a lot to work on in regards to how they attack Consulate. You know, we see teams do so well on defense, usually pretty indicative of either a lack of understanding of the map or maybe a lack of understanding of their attack strategies. Could see things as simple as maybe this Blackbeard ban by Obey was the kryptonite for C9. We don't know how much, because we don't know how much of an effect it had, because I feel like almost every time that we've seen C9 play on Consulate, you do one thing. You put Retro on Blackbeard, you have him walk in, take up a little bit of space, and just hold an angle for 2 minutes. And the moment that somebody walks in front of him, he guns them down. Instead, you put Retro on more of support roles. You had him playing Dokkaebi on most of the rounds there. And I mean, yeah, he's got smokes, and yeah, he can contribute with the gadget, but the fragging potential of Dokkaebi isn't quite what it used to be, especially with the DMR and the SMG-12's nerf. It's certainly not what you're going to do with the Blackbeard. It doesn't allow teams to play around you the same as if they know there's a Blackbeard in the other team, because similar to a Glaz, if you know that there's a Blackbeard or a Glaz against you, you don't always take the same chances that you would with just a normal standard operator, because you know you'll probably lose and not be able to trade out the fight.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think the Blackbeard ban from Obey was ultimately what sealed the deal there in that matchup, because Cloud9 tend to pivot around a Blackbeard quite a lot on a map like Consulate. It seemed that the sad part is their strategy was the same as it would be if they had a Blackbeard. It was play it slow, establish angles, start getting those picks. And it was working to an extent, but also they didn't have quite the same bite. So it didn't work in the long run. They didn't manage to take any attacking rounds. So yeah, they definitely were missing a piece of the puzzle there in that matchup. Obey, on the other hand, great read for them to know that, to simply ban one operator and completely defang the attack for Cloud9.
This is a pattern that we've seen from Obey a number of times over the last couple weeks. It's been highlighted here in USN, and it's also been highlighted in Pro League, in that they're very good at counter-banning their opponents. Look no further than the game against SK. They ban out Capitao and Valkyrie on Consulate, and Obey ends up tying it. I mean, it was more SK tying it, because SK ended up losing what should have been a map that was very much heading in their favor, and Obey closed that gap in a hurry and then forced the draw. But the Capitao ban was huge for crippling SK's attack. The Valkyrie ban in particular, and we know that Valkyrie is an operator that is played by Obey, but they opted to take some of the damage themselves, and it was a bit of a self-inflicted wound, but it was a mortal blow to their enemies rather than one to themselves. So as we turn our sights to Oregon for our second map of this series, Obey is one map away from being able to say that they'll attend the USN LAN Finals.
They've been doing very well so far, and they will be attacking first on this match, this map, which means Cloud9 get to ban first on defense. Same exact starting sides as the previous map. Lion will be the first one gone. This is the same operator that Cloud9 banned in map number 1, so not a huge surprise. Lion getting banned in pretty much every competitive match as of late.
Yeah, I mean, Lion enables a style of play that a lot of teams just can't be arsed to deal with, you know. And I think with pretty good reason. Obey will also ban Blackbeard again, so this is deliberately designed to strike at the heart of Retro and Laxing, as we know that both of them play the Blackbeard, though very differently. Laxing plays it far more aggressively than Retro does. Retro uses it largely as a flank hold and to cut off rotates.
I would say you'd see Retro playing Blackbeard on Consulate, and then you'd see Laxing playing Blackbeard on Oregon.
Agreed. And I mean, I'm a little surprised that, I mean, it could just be simply map dependent. Obey is also going to be banning Clash, who was a pivotal operator to shut Obey's attacks down time and time again.
Yeah.
So that's a nice reflexive ban. They'd banned Echo last time around. Likely we'll probably see a Mira ban would be my guess here on Oregon, unless Cloud9 just wants to hack it with Mira still on the board. And it'll be Cloud9 banning Valkyrie yet again. So obviously feeling that Valkyrie, an operator that doesn't always work itself into Cloud9's lineup, is quite crucial for Obey on their defenses. Now, I mean, Obey didn't lose a single defense on Consulate, so obviously the Valkyrie ban could still be the strongest option for C9, but you're going to leave a Mira on the table here. You're going to leave a Maestro on the table here. You're going to leave an Echo here. Cloud9 has banned Maestro before, even though it's Goddess's most played operator on defense half the time. It's going to be Retro taking up that mantle today, as you're going to see Goddess playing the Mira. So there were options here that possibly could have hindered Obey more than just this Valkyrie ban. That's going to be something to look on, as Obey is going to start on attack and C9 is going to start on defense.
All right, so bottom floor here for the defense. They're going to go down to Laundry. This is usually the standard sites to go to. You're going to go bottom floor, you're going to go top floor over by the dorms. And then from there, you have to pick one of the off sites if you are successful on both of those. So the way Oregon usually plays out, we don't usually see any team manage to take all of their defenses. It's happened before, though it is a rarity. Don't expect it to play out like what we saw with Obey on the first map. That was Consulate. The setup here being a very heavy roam over in the meeting hall. Makes a lot of sense. We have often seen this on the basement hold. I remember when teams were first realizing that they didn't have to play all 5 players in the site on this one. On this particular bomb site, it used to be the strategy that everyone would just sit in the closet and over by box and then get slaughtered. And then people realized, hey, you know what we could do? We could play in the meeting hall. Crazy idea.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the way that this game has evolved for quite a large period of time, the meta heavily revolved around everybody just sitting in sight.
Yep. And
then it broke open, and then there was an abundance of roamers, and it was actually maybe a bit too roam heavy. And now I think there's a nice mix between it. It's very site dependent. There are certain sites where you can sit 5 or 4 people on the site and just keep them there. There are some sites where you keep 1 person on site and have the rest play around it.
It's fair. It's taken a shift from the macro meta to the micro meta, where in regions and individual teams you see such variation because teams are exploring to try and find edges over their opponents, and that's just going to come with, as the professionalism advances in Rainbow Six Esports, and it's always awesome to see those changes transpire. And yeah, it's been a long road for Siege so far.
Absolutely. So, wisely, C9 has backed off, it appears, for the most part. Laxing inside of Attic, as you've got heavy drone work being done into Meeting Hall. And Sky's just trying to get around as best as he can. You can see my man has lost most of his HP, and then Laxing, who is playing above, will get found out from Bosco. So a good joint effort from Obey in order to get the kill that was needed here. As just a bit of stuttering there from Skies as he tries to walk down the main stairs and get in towards the lobby. So losing your roamer on this early on is obviously not ideal, but as you stated, you still got good site presence here. Burning the ADS underneath the hatch will be Bosco. He'll use his concussive blasts, knowing that the impacts are much more important and vital to take out barbed wire, and most importantly, those evil eyes as well.
Soft wall over by construction, and it looks like it's going to be hard destruction to open it up regardless. And once they get this push established, they can taken to box, but look at how much time they have left. They're going to have to make this go, go, go. Benji coming up with the EMPs. Sky is looking for a late flank by the main lobby. Here comes the smokes and the gas canisters in response. Benji going to eat a lot of damage before Mark can get Bosco. The push from Benji, though, will bear fruit as Mark gets a double kill. Goddess gets a C4 into Benji, leaving just Skies in the 1 versus 3. The late flank not going to aid him as the rest of his team has been destroyed. And Cloud9 will take the first round.
You might get a rehost here as both teams asking possibly some issues with the local server. And we'll see if there's going to be a rehost here between these two teams. But anywho, C9 taking round number 1 for honestly a pretty quick push from Obey that really didn't go anywhere. As you said, you said that it didn't bear any fruit, and it was. I think that Obey at some point made the call that you can't push main lobby, you can't push the backstairs, let's head in through construction, which is very strange because a lot of the way that Obey was shaping up was to try and push through meeting hall and maybe continue to branch out through the back tower stairs. But instead, having 3 people go into the box downstairs in construction was very interesting to watch, and I think that really played into the way that C9 had their bodies stacked up. You had them, I think, reading that there was a rotate and knowing that you can't. My apologies.
Knowing that you can't.
Apparently can't breathe.
Yeah,
so
that's unfortunate.
I'm still a little sick.
Don't die.
Yeah, I just have a tickle in my throat. But you'll have to struggle.
I know that feel. So
you have to struggle through me sounding like this.
Yeah, it's okay.
That's okay. It's raspy.
You'll be fine.
It's sexy.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, the round there playing out. I think a lot to do with the way that Away chose to push that. They came from the back lane and they were trying to clear out from construction, and it just didn't work out. The late flank from Skies was well set up. I like what they were trying to do over by the main lobby. That's actually something we've seen a lot of teams employ, and it has worked out great in the past. You just have one person, a 3-speed, doesn't matter who, come from behind, down the main lobby stairs when everyone's faces are turned and looking at the back. Unfortunately for Skies and the rest of his team, the actual push into the site died really quickly. I think a big part of that it was called too early. The gas canisters were not, used up. They were all still in hand for the defense, and they managed to do a lot of damage and delay that push quite a bit. So, yeah, I think a poorly called push and really not great utility placement, resulting in an easy cleanup for the defense.
Yeah.
That's it.
I mean, you can hear through the one thing I was trying to say is you can hear through the footsteps whether there's going to be people pushing through main lobby, right? Like you'll hear the footsteps above you, and when you're 20 seconds left in a round,
yep,
and there's that silence above the main lobby hatch and the main stairs, you think, okay, they're probably going to rotate around back, and you saw Cloud9 read that and adjusted accordingly. They stacked up 2 bodies over by the laundry room area with the open hole in the wall. They kept the C4 in hand in Goddess, who was playing inside of the closet. And then even then, when Skies went for the solo push, the late flank as you called it, it was very late, and it didn't end up accomplishing much.
I can't fault Skies' timing. I'm not going to point a finger at Skies and be like, it's your fault that you were too late to the party. I honestly think it was just the rest of his team dying so quickly.
Yeah, and I mean, he could have been a little bit quicker, on the beat. I think that's absolutely correct. As Maestro, he could have even possibly done some work earlier on that main hatch and then just watched over top of it to make it so that anybody that was pushing through this, like the laundry area, the little cubby area, or even that little closet, couldn't rotate effectively. Like, there were lots of things that could have been done there other than just storming down the stairs when the rest of your team is dead with 5 seconds to go.
It's hard to fully open up a drop down with Maverick, but
yes,
but you can open up little holes and you can cut off that rotation, like you say, over in like the laundry closet and stuff like that. You could also, in theory, just open up one tiny hole. Hopefully, mirror player won't notice it, and you can hold the angle from that drop down onto the mirror window. In theory, might be something that he could have done, but it wasn't to be in that round. Either way, Cloud9 taking it pretty convincingly, though it did look like Obey was this victim of circumstance as much as Cloud9 were being very solid in their defense. It was, you know, definitely the circumstance that ultimately cost Obey that round. And by that I mean, of course, just the setup. The defense being so entrenched and the push being called off the main lobby to the back lane. We've seen time and time again that the back lane push coming from construction, coming from tower, just it doesn't work 90% of the time. Almost every single time we see that push used, it falls flat. It has worked. It has worked. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying it doesn't work often. Now, because of the successful defense of the bottom floor, it's going to be a top 4 hold for Cloud9.
So they'll go to the one site that makes an awful lot more sense, rather than going with tower or even kitchen.
Literally anywhere else.
Literally anywhere else on this map in particular, as it appears that I have finally regained my voice. Thank you for bearing with me there. Woo woo.
Welcome back.
Still, really like the worst timing when you think about it to get sick. Really just, I mean...
Are you sick? You okay?
Are you serious?
What? Well, I thought you were coming off of your sickness. You were like...
It's been a week.
I thought you were better now. I thought you were like feeling better.
Feel better.
Okay.
I'm not perfect.
All right.
I've never been perfect.
Well, I don't think any of us are perfect, Parker.
No, we are imperfectly perfect, right? But no, it's never a good time to obviously lose your voice when you're broadcasting. So that always sucks. But thank you for bearing with me there, as it sounded like I'd swallowed a frog. But upstairs from C9, the way that things are taking shape here with this castle strat up top, designed to try to waste as much time as possible and funnel in your attackers. You've also got the mute jammers down that, when paired with the castle barricades, are going to work quite well. Similar to pairing some nice floral cheese on a hot summer's day with a wonderful glass of rosé. They go quite well together and could be enjoyed by the entire team.
You can't forget the grapes.
Of course.
And the crackers. His face.
Anywho, the setup that's going on upstairs is going to be designed to just try and keep Obey from being able to get a push onto the site quickly. You see that Goddess playing this angle, reinforcements behind her, mute jammer next to her. They've completely reinforced off the sides around that master, as well as inside of Armory, which is where Mark is going to play. Now, there is a possibility for Obey to just simply bulldoze this and run right past it, but if Obey does play a more passive style here, it's going to work out very, very well for Cloud9.
Well, Obey's been a lot more aggressive this round, so you got to give him credit for that. You can see Skies is setting up right underneath the top of White Stairs. He's waiting for his opportunity to get a kill here, but it's been called out that there's no one there, and he should just deny the angle. And that's probably the right call, given Cloud9 are playing pretty far back. They have a heavy roam presence over by Armory, which is not going to help them very much in this round, considering Obey is doing an entire, just a west side clear. I wonder how many times I've said west side clear on an Oregon map. I mean, it's such a common thing. You know, whether attacking the basement or attacking the top floor, coming from the west, clearing out the roamers inside of the kitchen, on the top floor, whatever the case, and then forcing them back to site, it just does so much damage to the defense and removes an entire cog in the machine. Obey now has control over the top of White Stairs, and they can cut off rotation to the 3 players that are on the east side right now. That is dangerous. Goddess will get the first kill, though, onto Adam, and Bosco's position becomes a little bit more hard to handle.
So C9, who had expected a big push to come over from the Armory and Master side of things, have done what they did on the basement here of Oregon, which is pivot. Now they've got their sights trained all the way over towards the big dorms window on the west side of that second floor. And they're going to be able to get 2 kills out of that. Even though Benji gets 1, he gets traded out. Foxy gets Bosco as he sprints right in, and my man, a futile effort as it's a garden party for C9. 4 members of that team stay upright, and look at that. Excellent job from C9. 2 in a row in what has been a very defender-sided matchup between these 2 teams thus far on both maps.
Hey, remember that attack strategy I told you doesn't work very often, which is pushing from the tower and construction on the basement? there's this other attack strategy on Oregon that also usually doesn't work, and that's the one over when you push from the west, trying to clear out the kitchen exclusively, and then push up through the white stairs and through the west main window. And if that's the only if those are the only prongs to your attack, then you're just bottlenecking yourself as a team. Don't get me wrong, I said it earlier and I stand by this. We see that attack strategy a lot, but it so rarely works. And Cloud9 will be able to hold out against it. Now they're going to go to their third site, kitchen.
The only member of Obey who's been able to find a kill was Benji in the dying minutes of that last round. That was it.
Yeah, Cloud9 have had almost 2 perfect rounds.
So Obey will absolutely need to kickstart this offense here. And I mean, they're going to be gifted one of the less favorable sites for the defenders. It's going to be kitchen downstairs. So not exactly a given that the defenders will be able to walk away from this one. Like you could possibly see laundry or dorms.
Yeah, there's a split in any pro play of this game, where between tower and kitchen. Some teams like to go kitchen, some teams like to go tower, and it's all preference really. Both of them are equally not great as sites.
They do play out very differently, though.
Yes.
Typically on tower, you'll fight for a retake and usually have somebody perched at a long angle and then try to fight from inside a meeting hall and an attic, whereas on kitchen, you'll likely have a lot more bodies closer to the site and playing around that and then working really hard on denial. But Obey is going to set a very fast pace. Within 30 seconds, they'll open up that small tower wall. Adam doing a successful job there. Sees an Evil Eye that's positioned on the wall that is obviously going to be readily available for the defenders to possibly ping somebody should they go for a plant. So taking care of that Evil Eye is going to be very important. C9 assessing the fact that there really hasn't been much of an interest in kitchen. Well, they're going to look towards the west side, and it's a great ploy here by Skies as he uses the blowtorch on a bit of a split push himself to take out Retro. Pokes a hole in the wall and then just absolutely clobbers the smoke.
Yeah, that's a nice kill to get early on. My man droned this out earlier, and now he's going to peek the angle, looking for the shot, but it's so hard to establish. Foxay playing all the way over by white stairs between the bars and all. Very hard to deal with that. The Thatcher EMP will try and cover the Evil Eye, allowing for a diffuser plant. The C4 will, though, land on its mark. Adam goes down, and a huge miss from Benji results in a nice retake for Goddess. Obey still has the advantage here, but Goddess is still in play. What is happening right now? A 3K for the Mira, and the Skies takes out Laxing. Bosco will finally shut down the rampaging Mira of Goddess, and Obey will take their very first round, though it was a lot closer than it looked like it should have been.
Yeah, that was a very interesting play, and I mean, it all started off very similar to what we saw Adam Mark and Laxing when they were both playing on that very first round of Consulate. You had the clash look the wrong way. Laxing dies immediately. Bosco picks up a second kill. Same thing happened there. Goddess pushes out to take out Adam. Adam misses most of his shots, and I mean, that is part of the ACOG versus Hollow battle that happens from time to time. Adam just not being able to adjust for the fact that the Mira was at such a short distance that he needed to make some recalculations with that ACOG on his gun, not being able to hit those shots at a longer range, and Goddess just tore right through him, and then from that, it just continued on, and Goddess pushed up and got yet another kill, and I don't think anybody realized that there was coverage there. She peeked a third, grabbed the Capitao. Ultimately for Obey, it's a good thing that they still had Skies there on that split push inside a meeting, and then it's also very beneficial for them that Bosco had managed to take out the Echo inside of that bathroom. Once that happened, I think that the plant could have been very difficult for Obey to get down, and that's why they realized that it's time to just get kills and let's ignore the objective. We got tons of time.
All that said, based on Cloud9's absolute success when defending the bottom floor last time, it's safe to bet on them having a good round once more.
10 seconds to go.
So we could see this be an extended lead for Cloud9, go to 3-1. I definitely expect that. And then once they get to go back to the top floor, we could even see it end in a 4-1. this based on what Obey was showing us last time they attacked here. I think the change that needs to be instituted from Obey is that they need to adjust their strategy. Instead of trying to clear from the tower and construction hall, which again is a strategy we see often but also rarely successful, maybe do a main lobby push. You know, they have the Hibana, so it looks like they're bringing the right tools for the job here. You know, the confusing thing is with a lot of those takes, and why we see things like a pushing through construction so often is because it'll work in environments like scrims quite a lot, but it doesn't always translate to matches like this. And we so often see that those types of strategies, because they are so predictable, so common, be clamped down upon easily.
Sky's just droned himself in there. He sees the Jaeger after he's quite literally poking holes in the defense inside a meeting. But the Jaeger is still locked down, and this is a good opportunity here if Skies can still see the Jaeger of Mark, who's just sitting completely static. Skies will now send out a second drone, as he's already got one playing in there, and Obey's focus will shift very heavily towards taking out this Jaeger, knowing that there's going to be that open hole in the pantry wall. Adam is there, Benji doubled up, and possibly even Sky still doing drone work. Mark is presently either a dead man walking or somebody who's going to literally have to fight his way out. The one thing that you can award Cloud9 here is the amount of time that Mark has been able to waste on 3 separate members. But Maman and Adam are both doing the right amount of time on the main site. So this is Obey realizing that their clock management, which was not great to begin with, needs to tighten up, and they're doing a pretty admirable job of it so far.
Yep. That guy got dealt with. Now, Obey setting themselves up well for this take, but they still have so much counterplant utility on the Cloud9 lineup. They haven't cleared out the meeting hall. Not an essential function of a main lobby attack, but definitely a useful one. Perfectly placed Firebolt will light up Foxlight quite a bit, but somehow he manages to make it away, and that's going to mean that the gas canisters are still in play for Cloud9's defense. Sky's laying down some flashes into the meeting hall, trying to force anyone who's still there back, but you can see Marcus just fallen into the site, because why would he stay upstairs at this point? An easy trade here. And nice and even still, but the time is still in favor of Cloud9, and the gas canister utility is still in play. Smoke's coming out here from Obey, so this is their final opportunity to push and plant. My man will take out Foxay, so the final smoke is not going to come out. The C4 is also dealt with. Goddess was one of the first deaths for Cloud9, and the rush from Cloud9 not going to work as the plant goes down. A 2 versus 2, but the last 2 attackers in perfect position to deny this retake. Laxing, though, absolutely on fire. We'll get a couple kills before pushing up those main lobby stairs. And oh, what just happened? Laxing with the pistol out. So little ammunition, only 2 bullets left, and somehow he manages to 1 by 1 surgically eliminate Obey's hold on that diffuser.
I don't know if it was part of the client-sided destruction or not, but from our perspective, it certainly looked like not enough of that wall was opened up over the hatch for Skies. He missed Laxing push out from the rotate hole next to the closet. He missed Laxing push up to the diffuser, even though Skies was still looking in that direction, and then didn't get the right call. I'm imagining probably from his team that he was getting pushed from both sides. A very tough circumstance to find yourself in a 1v2 there for Skies, but either that wall just wasn't quite opened up where it needed to be, and he couldn't see Laxing, or it was just an uncharacteristic miss. There was a couple big mistakes from Obey that happened there. Number one, the amount of time that they used on Mark. You know, you've got a Zofia with concussive mines. You can use that to pinch the Jaeger, and if you've droned it out multiple times, you'd see that those hatches are soft. Those are your hatches to take once the Jaeger is gone. They couldn't really do much to get rid of Mark playing inside a meeting hall. And then on top of that, as you mentioned, that fire arrow went down to get Foxay, and as Foxay rotated out of that small closet to get back to the site, Bosco, who was assisting Maman, had looked away at the last second, and by the time Foxay rotated, it was up to Maman to put away the crossbow, pull out his own gun, and the para tried to get a couple shots in. He really couldn't do it. So good that we were able to capture as much of the breakdown of Obey's style of play there. There was just a number of very tiny mistakes, but when they all add up, it ended up being pretty detrimental. So Cloud9 walking away with that round, looking to try to make this a 4-1 and blow it wide open so that Obey will have to claw their way back on the second half of this game. Upstairs to dorms we will go. It's a favorable site rotation for C9, so they only had to defend one of the less than stellar sites once, and they can rotate through laundry and dorms for the remainder of the 4 sites. That's very beneficial for them. And if they play dorms anyway like they did the last time around, just as they did with laundry, it should go in their favor or at least come pretty darn close.
I still think that take for Obey in the previous round was really good. They managed to pace themselves to counter the utility well. They isolated Meeting Hall instead of clearing it. That's fine. A lot of teams use that as a normal strategy, and it worked out. In terms of Meeting Hall pressure, they didn't feel any. But ultimately, Laxing just walked into them and fragged out, and that's what cost them the round. If you can't shut down one player who's just getting all the kills, then, well, you're not going to win. Laxing going for an aggressive push into the garage, and he will not get anything out of it. We're falling back towards the site. Jammer's going to slow up this push somewhat from Obey. They have chosen to adapt their strategy, and they will be taking from the tower instead of exclusively from the west, although they do have presence in the junk tower as well. Looks like it's going to be focused on the north windows. A different strategy, and one that can work, but not if you lose players that easily. Retro just peeking under the north windows from inside of dorms, and he will get a kill onto the Sledger Skies.
And that's huge. The only set of grenades that are so crucial for a lot of teams on this site in particular. You can usually send those grenades up into the small dorms, which is where Retro is playing. And they're just not available right now. You see Cloud9 does have a Jaeger. Jaeger is pretty pivotal in most of Cloud9's defenses, with either Mark or Laxing usually taking that role on. And dealing with a heavy projectile-based team like Obey, as you can see right now, with the Zofia and Ying in particular, the ADSs are going to be very important, especially in the home stretch here. And it's been a very quick round. Retro, who got one kill earlier on peeking, will try to go for a second, get nothing. Maman and Adam will be able to pick up a pair. Benji jumping in as well. And great tracking from Maman. Goddess's last one for C9 as she's tasked with trying to stop the entire team, but Bosco will shut her down. She has no opportunity to get out of the top of white stairs, and it's going to be the same scoreline that we had on Consulate. But Obey was able to run it up in the second half. Are they going to be able to do it this time? We'll switch sides, and Obey will now be gifted 5 rounds on defense.
If only we had 2 more Boscos, we could have a full team of Boscos. Could you imagine? I would imagine if any one player in Pro League had 5 of themselves, that would be like the best team in Pro League.
Just 5 Pengus on one team?
Well, I'm just like, and no, I'm imagining like any pro player, right? Because if you're in your teammates' minds, you literally know exactly what they're going to do. Like, how could you lose that? But anyway, kids' dorms, top 4, defense first for Obey.
Interesting to go upstairs to dorms first.
I guess. I mean,
not that strange. They're definitely, for a period of time there, they were definitely a 1 and 2 style site. Then they kind of shifted to a 1A, 1B style of site.
Yeah.
I would say that now that Lion's prevalence has really dropped off, that laundry supply room tends to go back to being the most favored site, but
yeah,
it's really up for debate here. Dorms is by no means a poor site to defend, and a lot of teams might feel more comfortable if they feel that their play style and the operators they use are much better suited for that second floor bomb site.
I think what really happened with the meta of Oregon is at the beginning it was all preference. And then you saw Ella come out, and Ella, it just made it defense. And that happened for a while. And then when Lion came out, it kind of shifted to, like you said, the rigid, you go here first, you go here second type deal. And then we're back to preference now, really. I mean, Lion's still being really powerful, but hey, we've got an operator ban phase, so he usually doesn't see play. He's banned here. He was banned in the last map. He's banned almost all the time. Anyway, so Cloud9 have to figure out how they're going to attack onto this top floor. Now, the complication for this match is that the last time Cloud9 transitioned to attack, they did not win a single round. They lost 4 in a row, and they lost the match overall. And it was the same exact score going into the second half. Cloud9 were up 3-2, and then it just all started falling apart. So with the lack of the Blackbeard, because of this, him being banned for the second time in a row, they're going to have to change something drastically about how they attack this map, or just in general, if they want to get a win.
I think a lot of it, too, is momentum.
I guess, yeah.
I think that Obey just grabbed momentum on Consulate, and I think that you could see there was frustration from Cloud9 and a couple of mistakes that they made when they were defending, and I think that those add up.
But they still, Obey still went into the second half on the losing side.
I meant momentum for C9. Once C9 lost those 2 rounds, I think that was what really broke them wide open.
From behind, Foxe able to take out my man. Speaking of breaking them wide open, that was a huge lapse in the defense there. Opening a rotation hole for yourself to use and then not covering it is a blunder and a half. Bosco must have come off the angle at just the wrong moment from above.
Yeah, and I mean, you just see the entire kitchen as well. So you've got Cloud9 who just can waltz right into the kitchen here. Great opportunity for Bosco to get a headshot, but he can't land what is needed. He's going to be doing double duty as he's also got the holes from below.
No.
He looks away at the last second. Not sure if he sees the gun barrel of Mark's launcher or not. He'll be alerted to Mark's presence, though, as he'll blow open part of the floor and he'll jump all over skies. At the same time, Benji has taken quite a bit of damage, and Cloud9 are very firmly in the driver's seat here. We just edge ourselves out of that mid-round and head to the late round, as there's not a lot of time left for Obey to just hang on here for dear life as the Cloud9 Hurricane really comes in.
Here comes the push up the top of White Stairs, but Bosco with those gas canisters doing work. But Mark able to see Adam, and a double for Mark as Benji walks into the very same angle, leaving it in a 1 versus 5. Can Bosco pull it off? Well, it's going to be tricky. Planting in the smoke right in front of him is Goddess, and he's unable to land those shots, so the diffuser will go down. He does get the Hibana post-plant, so that's a good kill. But he's got to find now 4 more. And with so little time left, yeah, it's not looking great. No gas canisters left, and so little ammunition on that SMG-11. Spraying some of it onto the corpse of Goddess. He just doesn't have a lot of opportunities being presented to him right now. He will finally be shut down by Retro. Cloud9 take the very first attack, put themselves into a 4-2 situation. Looks like we're shaping up for map number 3 as Cloud9 win their very first attack round in this matchup.
And it was a very convincing win there, too. Once again, 2 rounds in a row now, or 2 losses of the last 2 that have come from Obey's side of things, where they were pretty preventable, if we're being honest. That's Obey falling victim to themselves more than it is anything else. No coverage on the Bandit of a Man playing downstairs inside a kitchen. No coverage on the top of White Stairs for Mark to just walk right up and get 2 kills. And then very limited coverage amidst the smoke of Bosco to essentially panic spray through that smoke with the Mira aiding him. It's little things like that where if they get away from you, they can cause a lot of problems somewhere down the line. So Cloud9 have done something that they weren't able to do for that first game. That's take a victory after the round swapped. That's a boost in morale, as I've said earlier on, and that's something where you can have a bit of a sigh of relief because you know that you're not going to fall victim to the same thing that happened the first time.
Yeah, there were so many things that went wrong in that last round for Obey, and I agree with you, absolutely preventable, just mistakes on their part. I mean, for example, Mark repeaking, or Mark getting shot in the attic. His positioning in the first place was a little bit questionable. There was nobody rappelling on north windows, and Bosco would have had to have called that at that point. So it's confusing that the Jaeger was trying to counter north windows by peeking attic. The right call there would have been just to relocate into the site and try to hold up the push, but miscall happened. He lost himself to the Zofia of Mark, who was pushing up the White Stairs. Pardon me, I believe it was Adam who was peeking the attic window. But overall, yeah, just not great positioning from Obey. I think was the real underlying point was trying to get at there. Now, it's going to be a top 4 defense once more, sticking to their guns. And likely this time that they're going to not make the same mistakes they did in the previous round. The setup is very much different. They have 2 players playing by Kitchen now, 1 inside of the showers to try and just hard hold that position, deny the flank into Kitchen.
And denying anything in Kitchen is going to be pretty important for Obey, as they didn't do a very suitable job last time around. And you just tossed my man's life away at that point. The top of the stairs, Benji, who had barely survived an interaction, an unfavorable interaction with part of the grenade launcher of Zofia. Just a bit too far away there for Laxing to be able to get it down. Look at that, just poking a very small hole and realizing that there's nobody from Obey on top of White Stairs. Downstairs, speaking of, you've got Adam playing on this electrified Miro window. Let's see if he can possibly get anybody that's also down there. That's Laxing, who's positioned not too far off, and Maman as well, inside of that bathroom. So double coverage now from Obey, just underneath the site. Not exactly an extravagant number. Usually some teams will run 3 or 4. I'm thinking of FaZe in particular, and that can end up being their own undoing.
From above, Foxay will take down Skies and go for a second. He lands it onto Benji. Excellent gunplay from the IQ. And Cloud9 now, yet again, you said it last round, I'll say it this round, firmly in the driver's seat after 2 very easy kills.
Yeah, that was Foxay just waltzing right in yet again, and nobody looking over in his direction. Skies and Benji going down. That's a nitro cell off the board. That's a pretty good gadget that can slow down this push. Now Laxing is going to pick up his own double kill downstairs. It was Maman and Adam, both of whom were down there doing double duty, as was noted before. And we've seen this song and dance. It's Bosco in a 1v4. He'll toss out a Toxic Babe, and we'll look for another as the remote gas grenade will sail right into Generator on window. Just a very tight angle. Retro will get his first kill of the round. And we have a mirror match going on so far.
Deja vu there.
I mean, except for the fact that it's C9 that's winning these, and they're on match point here on the opposite, on their opposite map.
Yeah, I mean, deja vu in terms of those 2 rounds. The first round and second round of the second half played out pretty much the same. Cloud9 get an early pick, then they get another early pick, and then it's a 3 versus 5, and a just absolute slaughter at that point in favor of Cloud9. Now, because of their lack of success upstairs, Obey are going to decide to go downstairs, which is the right call in this situation. But it's entirely possible Cloud9 are just as formidable when attacking the bottom floor. Only time will tell. But by the way things are looking, it looks like we're moving to map number 3, as I said earlier. Which I'm honestly excited for. Clubhouse, a great map, and it'll be good to see it be the final decider here.
Got to give an immense amount of props to the design team and the balancing team for that map. Clubhouse went from at the peak of the Smoke Ying Glaz combo that we were staring at for the Invitational, went from being one of my most dreaded maps to have to cast because every team played it almost exactly the same, to now one of my favorite maps, if not at the moment my favorite map to cast, other than maybe Villa or possibly even Border. So that just goes to show you how the love and the TLC that can be applied to one map, and that's all solely on the shoulders of the people who went back and changed Clubhouse. It's a fun map to play. It's a great map to watch. It's a lot of fun to cast. I'm really looking forward to this third map between these 2 teams if we get there. Obviously, if Obey want to be able to close this gap, we'll need to go to overtime. There's 3 rounds remaining in the normal innings, and well, would you look at that? Obey needs 3 to tie it up. So we could have quite a long match still left to play on Oregon, but there are very little signs that would point in that direction. C9, who had a bit of sloppiness on their defenses previously, and then certainly on their attack, have not shown that so far. They've been doing an exemplary job being able to out-communicate and just out-aim Obey, especially in that previous round. There was just a lot of one gunfights from 2 separate members of C9 in both Foxay and Laxing.
Yeah, winning those gunfights, of course, being the big standout here. I mean, that's exactly what we saw you know, in the first map. We're seeing very much the inverse of the first map, right? Because it was Obey winning everything, all of their gunfights. It just seemed like strategically, sure, they were sound, but when it comes to an actual fight, Obey managed to take it. Now here on Oregon, it's the opposite. Cloud9 are winning all the gunfights. Strategically, Obey hasn't been playing that great while defending the top floor, but still, you know, once they get into a tussle, they also just lose outright. Now, Cloud9 have opted to do a main lobby take here, and they're going to open up that angle into the meeting hall. It looks like they might be a little bit more keen on clearing the actual meeting hall than Obey was. You know, there are two mentalities with this strategy. Isolate the meeting hall, prevent the flank, and just take into the main lobby, or clear the meeting hall. Now, clearing the meeting hall is a little bit more dangerous, but it looks like Cloud9's doing it just perfectly. They've got the drone play on point. They're marking out Benji. They've got players coming from tower. At the same time, Obey has a good setup to help Benji, who is now very trapped. He will finally be eliminated by Mark, and Adam playing on the top of tower stairs will be called out. So while meeting hall has been cleared, it is not entirely harmless, as Adam could still influence this round. But Fox is going to take down Bosco. So again, Cloud9 looking really good in this round on attack before they make the push to the site.
And they'll toss the C4 out. A plant going down from Goddess. Great coverage here. Adam will need to try to retake towards the site with an ACOG. He'll have at least some working in his advantage, and he and Maman will double up as they're the only two people from Obey who are still upright from a 2v5 down to a 2v3. Is it a winnable situation, though? Goddess holding a rotate out. She'll miss a lot of the shots. Great dancing from Maman as he waltzes in, and now Adam also eliminating Mark. This is beautiful, but a Claymore will take out Maman, and Laxing just needs the call. He hears it, peeks around the corner. Adam falls off. This is a great opportunity. He'll go back on, and all Laxing needs to do is wait. On great time, Laxing snaps onto the head, and Sky's ready with the good half. The moment that it's over. That's a 6-2 scoreline, so just a bit more dominant for C9 here. Both teams trading each other's maps, setting us up for the ultimate tiebreaker on Clubhouse.
That last round just goes to show that pros do not fake, apparently. Opportunity there and missed for Disable. Just wasn't able to happen. And yeah, we'll see map number 3. Like I said, I'm pretty excited for Clubhouse. It's a great map to be the final one for this matchup, and it just goes to show how close these teams are in terms of skill.
Both just, that is not the Obey that showed up on Consulate. That is not the C9 that showed up on Consulate either. So these two teams, as you said, both very evenly matched. Clubhouse is going to be very exciting. It's a map that typically skews more towards the defense, but once again, you've been able to see teams rack up kills on attack depending on what happens with the bans. A lot of times, all those hard breachers are escaping the ban phase, and that really benefits the attackers. And then the defense will usually lose a Mira and maybe a Maestro, and it can easily snowball in favor of the attackers' side, so much so that when they end up going to defense, they're well within striking distance of taking the map, similar to what we've seen before when it's a 4-1 scoreline emerging from the first half.
You know, those hard breachers escape the ban phase because of Lion always occupying half of the attacker's side in almost every match. And then in this matchup, we have Obey banning Blackbeard consistently. So there's always something to consider. I mean, very powerful operators being taken out on attack, but yeah, that versatility is afforded to the attackers.
Well, we're going to toss to a very short break, as is commonplace after the second map, setting us up for the third. It's going to be Clubhouse on C9 and Obey. Winner of this map goes to the U.S. Nationals Finals. It's pretty important, and we'll see you in a few minutes. Welcome back, everybody, to our final matchup between Obey and Cloud9, and it'll be the final map of our first match. We've still got Rogue versus Nomads up next, but on the docket, Clubhouse.
Yeah, pretty excited to see Clubhouse played.
Yeah, I mean, it's been really close between these two teams on both Consulate as well as Oregon. It's been an interesting fight. Consulate, of course, Cloud9 came out firing. They took the first half 3-2, and then Obey took every single round after that. On Oregon, similar. Cloud9 took the first half 3-2, but then they took every single round after. So it seems to be the team that ends up coming out of the first split with the very first round victory will then just be able to keep that ball rolling.
Or not. We'll see. We've seen both happen. Cloud9 looked better on the first half of the second map and they won it. They looked better on the first half of the first map and they lost it. So who knows? Clubhouse is also a very defender-sided map, and we've been seeing a decent split between attack and defense so far. So we're probably going to see a little bit more of an entrenched map on this third one here.
It's going to be fun to watch, and I think that Clubhouse is still very similar to the way that we saw Villa, is that because Clubhouse has only re-emerged as the high of a pick rate as it's had over the last couple months after its changes, there's still teams trying to discern what the best way to go about attacking it is, as well as the best way to defend it. So whether it's going to be a garage push, whether it's going to be a dirt push, whether it's going to be a blue push, whether it'll be a security push or my construction push, rather, that's something to definitely watch for both of these teams. And I mean, the fraggers on Obey were awake in Consulate, kind of fell asleep on Oregon. Are they going to wake up in time for Clubhouse? Same question for C9.
Yep, definitely looked like Obey couldn't really win any of their fights when they were playing on Oregon, and it was the opposite for the first map. It's weird how that transition happens. We were talking about it before the match even started. Sometimes it just has to do with individual map preference.
Yeah, and then the operator bans too. You know, I think there's no way around it that, you know, Consulate, those operator bans really definitively hurt C9. But then when you look at Oregon, was a Blackbeard ban the most pivotal ban that we saw? I don't necessarily know if I'd agree with that one. I think that Obey, great opportunity to ban the Clash, but the Blackbeard, maybe not the best choice. All that speculation aside, we're going to head into the operator bans in just a moment as these two teams will battle for the third spot at the U.S. Nationals Finals. Keep in mind that the winner of this map is the one who walks away with that land spot.
Maverick banned out by Obey. Makes a lot of sense. Very powerful operator, especially on a map like Clubhouse. We'll see Lion as well. Cloud9's been banning Lion all day, and having him gone also makes sense. Very powerful operator, no matter what map you're on. Period. Just powerful.
I mean, he works with a lot of team strategies. Most teams are very well prepared for him, and in the maps where he doesn't get banned, we see his pick rate skyrocket because I think he does bring out so much for the attack. A Mira ban is pretty standard fare here on Clubhouse, and then a Clash ban, as Obey have decided that after that first game on Consulate, they don't particularly want to deal with a Clash yet again. And I think that's a wise choice. It was a huge part of why C9's defense worked so well on Consulate. Though on Oregon, C9's defense was pretty good, and they lacked the Clash. So there was obviously some changes that were made there for Cloud9 in order to thrive without the shield defensive operator.
Looks like it's going to be bottom floor here for Obey. Now, because there's only one hard destructor ban, and it's the least effective on drop downs, the Maverick, this bottom floor isn't going to be great to defend. Cloud9 will be able to bring both the Thermite and the Habana, which means they can open up anything they want. It's a lot of power to put in the hands of one team.
So downstairs we'll go for the very first site here. Obey, of course, will defend first. We haven't seen an overtime just yet. I would imagine that if we're likely going to see one, it's probably going to be on Clubhouse between these teams. Especially if it does end up being a pretty typical Clubhouse routine where defenders win a lot They switch sides. Defending team wins about the same amount, and then you have to go into those extra innings to try and figure out who exactly walks away the victor.
10 seconds left.
Yeah, we'd seen that a lot from this map.
5 seconds.
The setup pretty standard. No surprises at all when it comes to the operator selection, nor when it comes to the operator selection of the attackers.
Locate a bomb and defuse it.
Capital yet again going to be picked out. Such a powerful operator attacking no matter where you are.
And trying to figure out if somebody's going to be playing up over top of blue is Mark. And he's just going to go for the typical precautionary shots through the doors. Maybe there might be somebody there, maybe not. And then he'll go for drone, and he'll drone himself in. This is something that Obey was doing a lot of last game as the map started to wind down, was Obey started droning themselves in quite a bit. Cloud9 was doing it early on in Consulate when they were on attack as well. Typically, you will want an escort with that drone there just as extra insurance to be able to capitalize on the fact that you figured out where somebody is, because that information that is gleaned from a drone can be gone and useless within a very short period of time. Double hard breachers as well for Cloud9 means that they have some added insurance should we see any of those impact tricks that typically do end up happening, and it certainly appears that that's exactly what Benji's going to do, and there you go. But it looks like he might have missed. Benji picking the wrong direction, and that is a free hatch for Cloud9.
Yeah, somewhat hit and miss when you're trying to trick that hatch. Foxay is going to be able to open up all of the hatches because of that, which means you also still have the thermite charges when you go for the actual site push. You can open up whatever it is you need to open up. Over by blue, Mark's going to get a nice headshot onto Skies. Excellent crosshair placement. Skies just walked into it.
And still more droning from C9 here. So you've lost the Valkyrie, who will go unbanned this time around. Both teams, of course, running a Valkyrie. Cloud9 doesn't really rely on her all that much, but you see that Skies will run her quite a bit, especially on defense of certain sites that typically rely on that information being given above the site. This is a pretty good opportunity. Retro getting the kill onto Maman will mean that Obey will continue to find themselves down numbers. Benji is just an inch away from an engagement with Mark. He'll take out Retro, but then immediately turn his back to blue, and that's Mark being able to jump in. Adam with one and Bosco with one means that it's a 2v2, but that will narrow now as down goes Bosco. Goddess will need to get the plant off with Adam as Obey's only opportunity to salvage this round, and as he tries to peek out and rotate into Church, Laxing will hold the cross from the bottom of main stairs.
Nice attack strategy from Cloud9, hinging heavily on that take into blue. It was just a simple blue moto pinch, which is interesting because usually that's the strategy used by most teams when you don't have access to an abundance of hard destruction. The fact that they had both hard destructors that you would ideally have on this site, Habana and Thermite, and still chose to go for that strategy just shows their confidence in, well, that strategy. The most interesting thing for me was the fact that they were easily able to push their way into blue with very little fight being put up by Obey. It did seem like Obey had a good handle on blue control, but ultimately not the case. Kind of surprising that Cloud9 managed to get by both of the blue lanes without contention.
Yeah, I mean, that was maybe a bit too little of a roam from Obey there, which is kind of strange to say when talking about Obey as a team. They really didn't invest much time in establishing a ton of map control. And then ultimately, they just allowed Cloud9 to walk up to the front door uninvited and just take that all away from them. It's going to be a bit different when you go upstairs, though, and as we see a cache CCTV defense, typically you'll see defenders spread out a bit more. Maybe some presence in construction on the top of red, over inside a garage. These are all ways that the defenders can utilize that map control to waste time and also waste utility of the attackers. Cloud9 is going to have some utility in the Capitao and the Zofia, and a heavy frag lineup outside of that. They'll bring the double hard breach again, which is something that we've seen a lot from Cloud9, running with the Hibana and Thermite. And as I said, it's just added insurance. Because Obey is capable of going back downstairs, I think it's a smart idea to know that you can bring a Thermite and a Hibana with you.
Yeah, having both of those options, really very useful. Cash room defense, from some teams, tends to be the primary site. Well, the secondary here is not surprising either. Cloud9 seemingly setting themselves up to take into the garage.
Bomb has been located.
Definitely something hard to accomplish, but when you've got all that hard destruction, you can pull it off. Capitao Firebolt's going to be really instrumental on dealing with anyone on the top of the catwalk.
I'm really surprised here that Obey isn't bringing a pretty typical anchor operator upstairs and instead is just relying on the Legion up there. Usually you want to put an ACOG up somewhere nearby to try and take advantage of the fact that you have the protection of those metal rails and will also likely be fighting against other ACOGs.
Adam trying to challenge a long angle through lounge. Dangerous thing to challenge as a pulse, but you can make it happen. Very wise to fall back in that scenario. Foxay gets the first kill onto Adam. It's a good start for Cloud9. Grenades likely to land if there's no ADS, but ooh, just a little bit of an overshot, and Benji walks away with half HP.
Yet again, that's the second grenade that's going to miss. Retro just sees the head of the Legion, but cannot pick away at Benji. And if Benji peeks ever so slightly, this could be an opportunity for him to get a nice kill onto the Zofia. He's being hounded at the moment as the clock is just going to continue to strike towards that 0 mark. Mark trying to, speaking of Mark, he sees both the Jaeger as well as the Legion for just a second. He'll be able to get Benji, but the Jaeger has fallen off, and Mark taking 20 damage as he hits 2 goo mines. And then there's the Jaeger there to be able to finish him off.
Great angle play there from Obey. Skies has been lit up quite a bit, but damage is done. Cloud9 still has the lead, though ever so slightly. And they have finally gotten control of Garage, but at what cost, really? It's going to be quite difficult for them to push the site. Skies is still very exposed inside of server. See over by the cache stairs, but man trying to hold the angle onto the window. Skies playing that tight angle in server will win the fight. Relaxing is able to finally shut him down and go in for the defuse plant. Foxay from behind will also get Bosco, leaving my man in the 1 versus 3. A difficult thing, to be sure, and as the diffuser goes down, it becomes even more so. He misses a lot of shots onto Hibana Foxay. That's embarrassing. And he will be flashed into oblivion, making his life even more difficult. Retake here. Still trying for my man, but he will simply be taken down by Retro. And Cloud9 take the round.
I am amazed that Cloud9 walked away with the victory on that round. 30 seconds in, you've got your hard breach diffuser carrying Thermite. Because I realized that sentence didn't make a lot of sense by itself. Trying to go in through the open hole inside of CCTV wall. None of the hard destruction has been committed on the exterior walls. You don't even bother to shoot out the bandit batteries and have either Hibana or Thermite reposition because you realize you're too short on time because you spent most of it battling 1 Legion at the top of Catwalk. And then you still manage to just out-frag Obey when there's really only 2 ways into the site at that point. I am amazed that C9 walked away with that. Absolutely astonished.
Yeah. They really shouldn't have. The way that they were taking in through Garage was a little bit stacked. I'm surprised that Obey didn't do any more damage than getting the 1 kill. That should have been a lot. Oh.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
It's a big whoops there. That's a big whoops. So, the way things are shaping up right now, Obey seems to be in turmoil, and Cloud9 looks like they're ready to, well, twist the neck and finish this off.
Vigil's cloaking device hides you from drones, not from shotguns.
The more you know.
Pro tips. Crucial mistake. But I feel like we've seen this from Obey before. They did it on Oregon. I believe it was Bosco trying to open a rotate hole as well inside of kids' dorms. I think they still won the round. So who knows? Maybe this is some 500 level IQ 7D chess blood sacrifice. And Skies need to be the one to pay for it. Who knows? But I think that, you know, Obey realized that pressure's on for them. This is a do or die opportunity. There's still obviously 4 land spots that will be remaining at the end of today. But more importantly, it's Obey falling behind on Oregon. Obviously a bit of frustration likely coming in. My man missing a lot of those shots, I think it is pretty emblematic of the fact that there's probably some nerves at play. And then that is a really brutal mistake.
Yeah, definitely something that you cannot be making at this point in a best of 3. And more importantly, I mean, you're already down 2 rounds, so this is just reinforcing your current deficit. Retro will be reset after likely taking some damage, and back to 50, still able to play this match out. All the drop downs will be opened up, it looks like, with relative ease, so Cloud9 have everything they could possibly want on this push. They also still have the Thermite in place, so they could open up the church wall should they choose to. They're going to have to confront those bandit batteries, though, if that's the strategy. Overall, though, Cloud9 have full control. They've forced all of these defenders into a difficult spot. And here comes the start of a push on the blue. Last time Cloud9 pushed this, they got it with ease. And yeah, from control of blue, they managed to establish crossfire with Moto, and it was an easy church push.
I mean, the good thing here, for Obey at least, is that the one that they lost early on, Skies, was playing the Vigil. So it's not like the gadgets are required of you. It's not like a Jaeger dying early and losing those ADSs. Speaking of, Adam also will bite the dust and will join his teammate Skies as there's a minute to go here in round number 3. C9 currently with the 2-0 lead, looking to try and extend that. A small hole has been opened up above Foxe, and that looks like it's possibly an impact trick spot.
Bosco, nice shot onto Goddess, and the Fuser now down inside of Arsenal. So the strategy for Cloud9 has changed. Instead of pinching between Moto and Blue, they've opted to go for an Arsenal push, which now they are completely tied to after losing their first operator. My man gets a C4 onto Mark, well placed, and now Cloud9 are starting to one by one fall down as they attempt to push into the site. Still an element inside of Arsenal, but he's exposed to Blue, and from the Blue, Retro will get the kill.
15 seconds remaining.
So little time, but Retro gets another frag. It's all down to my man in a 1 versus 3. A tricky thing to win, but he is certainly trying. So little time, and the marks are coming out, but Retro from Blue still in that crossfire position. Perfect spot to win the round, and a great 3K for him.
You think those were bad calls on Retro's position?
Yes.
Because, I mean, you got the Valkyrie who's not looking towards Blue. You've got Smoke, who not only is not looking towards Blue, but then tries to rotate with a hole in Blue. That's bad calls.
You can't just, I mean, yes, but also just general bad game sense. I mean, Cloud9's been pushing from Blue every single time they attack onto the bottom floor. Okay, fair. They've only done it twice now. But last time they attacked the bottom floor, they did the same thing they just did now. The one difference being, instead of pushing through Moto, they pushed through Arsenal. And sure, that's a transition of strategy, but they maintained the pressure in Blue, and it is clearly instrumental in the outcome of these rounds. If it were not for Blue pressure, that would have been likely a successful hold for Obey. All said and done now, and we're at a 3-0.
I mean, C9 putting together. C9 has won 3 rounds in the first half of every single map. So they've hit their mark. Obviously going to try to continue to increase upon that. I don't think there's a call from C9 saying, all right, we got this. Don't worry, we'll wait for the second half. Retro, the way he was positioned inside of Blue, eerily similar to the way that they use him with that Blackbeard. Almost like a statue, just situated, watching an angle, very minimal movement, being able to capitalize off of anybody who tries to rotate out and has the misfortune of finding themselves within a couple pixels of his crosshair.
5 seconds left.
Obey are going to need to throw everything at the wall here, because not only have these been rounds in favor of Cloud9, but by and large, they've been pretty definitive rounds. There really hasn't been a lot of question as to whether or not Obey can possibly land a punch or two of their own. There's a funny thing with these 3-0s is that this is really the opportunity where a team that has everything going in their favor can make a stumble or two, because they might get overconfident or they might get comfortable with the fact that they've won this half. So at that point, we can play a little bit looser, and that looseness might end up being a pretty big detriment for the team that is currently up 3-0. But I mean, Cloud9 is also gifted on attack, so it's going to be incumbent upon them to wade their way through Obey's defenses here.
And they've been doing it very well so far, as they're already up that 3-0. They've been looking fantastic on their attacking half. Slow goes here for Cloud9, yet again, setting themselves up around the garage. This is the way they chose to attack this site the last time they were here. Take in through garage, and once you've done that, then you can start pressuring the site. Nice claymore there to cut off rotation in the hallway. Of course, it will very likely be shot pretty quickly into this round, but for now, it can do a little bit of work in making the defense think about it, if nothing else. Foxay, seemingly trying to push his way in through office, will be taken out. The melee hole spotted out there by my man. Well done to the Jaeger to see that opportunity and seize it. That was a nice shot.
And it's one of the dual hard breachers as well. And the last time that this site was attacked by Cloud9, there wasn't, you know, did it get the man?
Nope, it did not.
It looked like he lost a little bit of health to that. I'm not certain.
He got shot by Goddess.
Ah, as the Claymore blew up as well.
Yep.
So, speaking of getting shot, Adam and now Skies as well. Skies dropped all the way over in Strip Club. Oh man, that is a long shot. Likely went for the run out through the strip doors and got taken out of action. Unfortunately for Skies, unlikely that his teammates will be able to pick him up. A grenade gets tossed up and it'll blow up. It doesn't find a target. Benji eliminates Mark, 3v3. As now Benji will get downed to that asphyxiating bolt and then finished off by Goddess, who'd taken a chunk out of my man's health earlier, as you've noted. My man started things off for Obey, and he's going to be Vanguard as he sits up top on that rafter. He's going to find a kill of himself. Skies does eventually bleed out and finish himself off, and there's Bosco now just trying to patrol this open hole. This is a very winnable situation for this smoke, and he pulls out the shotgun, drops Goddess. Next one up is Laxing. Bosco, ever the clutch master. Dylan Bosco. That's two members of C9. Line them up and knock them down. Excellent read from the smoke there. And that's a pretty routine hold.
Nice call to push in and get proximity on his opponents. That was definitely the right situational awareness. Now, Cloud9's streak has ended, but they still looked pretty good in that round. Dominant is the word I would use. And they were fixated on taking the garage, which ultimately was to their failure. They could have simply pushed in from somewhere else, anywhere else, and they probably would have had a better result. Maybe a construction push. Whatever the case, though, it's done now. And Gym Bedroom will be the next site for Obey to go to. They have not successfully won the basement just yet, but they still possibly could have if they chose to go there. This is, however, the final round of the first half, and the final place where Obey will be able to defend.
So finally a round for Obey that comes down to one of their clutchest members, and looked pretty hairy for them there for a minute, especially when they lost the two early on, and both Adam and Skies getting downed. It did look like Cloud9 was going to be able to continue to stretch onward with that, but once again, for reasons unbeknownst to us, Cloud9 having a great degree of hardship getting in with double hard breachers through one or two walls, and they just end up funneling in. And if they have the presence of different members of the team in different areas, then they're able to just outgun Obey. But you can't just rely on always necessarily winning fights. It's not against all opponents, maybe against Obey, maybe here in this situation, sure. But overall, you have to be a bit more diversified in that sort of thing. And having your Thermite and Hibana get very little value out of their gadgets is a bit of a head scratcher.
Certainly is. Slow going here for Cloud9 once more, as they have been, well, not quick on their attack strategies. They know they want to clear out cache though, and Mark's going to be the first line of assault. He does have drones ahead of him, so he's got the information on this push, but it's not going to be an easy one still. Free fire from Mark, trying to take out the Valkyrie in his anchor position inside a cache room, but it's not going to happen.
He does get the deployable shield though, and now with that wall being opened up, Mark was holding an angle, but just misses as the Valkyrie does manage to escape that cache room. Also misses the yokai of Adam as well.
Yep. Cloud9 have gotten control of cache, whether they know it or not. They're just going to drone it out now and determine that. Now that they have that control, it's a simple push into construction. Where it gets really complicated is when they need to push into offices. Because from offices, there's a really great angle to hold that construction push and, by extension, the site. You can see that it is being played right now by my men.
Don't forget that this was the map that Cloud9 was able to win DreamHack Montreal off of the backs of. A ping will go onto this deployable shield here, and it's proving quite troublesome for Retro to pick away at the wall around. Cannot find anything. He gets a great read onto the Jaeger, but doesn't land a single shot. That bullet pen is not quite what it needs to be through an impenetrable surface.
And Benji safe from the window thanks to the island in the middle of the site. As much as the Blackbeard may search for that angle, it's not going to happen right now. Sky is doing Sky's things, playing with C4 below. We saw him do this on Consulate, and it worked out pretty well for him. Goddess on the entry will take out Benji, and another one for Goddess onto Adam. Great shot placement by the Thermite. Sky still has the C4 from below, though. Retro will get my man. Diffuser's still going down, and it will finally be stopped by the Valkyrie. Excellent placement there. Valkyrie can also stop the vault in through the window, but instead, Sky's going to start relocating to the site as he knows his teammate Bosco is likely to die soon. The diffuser plant goes down. Laxing catches the rotation of his former teammate, and Bosco, now the final defender. We've seen this so many times before. FMG out. He is going to land the shots onto Fox. Well-placed shots indeed. He's got to find 3 more before he can clutch on the defuse. Slow going. Pushing out. He will get a nice headshot on the Retro. Excellent placement there. Capital playing extremely safe on the jacuzzi balcony. And so will Mark on the south balcony. The bait out is perfect. Cloud9 play it right, and they will take their 4th round in this first half. And the final round of this first half. Looking good to win the map out.
And if people aren't familiar with exactly what goes into a post plant there, you saw that C9 played that so well. They had 4 bodies left, so they committed 2 of them to playing quite aggressive, while the other 2 were very passive. At that point, if the 2 that are aggressive can waste enough of that time and narrow that clock down as much as possible, then the 2 that are playing passive have an even easier job. Even if you lose the 2 who are aggressive, which is what we saw happen, both the Blackbeard as well as, was it the Thatcher that got killed, or possibly Zofia, were left, or no, Mark was remaining as Zofia at that time. They made it very easy for Bosco to get those 2 kills, and then just, you got the clock at under a quarter of the time left, right? There was next to nothing that could have been done, and it was very easy for them to just jump on that. And that's when a lot of teams will typically frag chase at that point. They'll start throwing people at it, but it was good patience, and that patience was rewarded with the fact that they walked away with it. And this is the best half that we've seen out of Cloud9 so far in any of the matches today.
Yeah, 4-1 is a pretty advantageous way to end any half, whether it be the final or or any of the previous maps. And here it is in the final map. So that's about as good as it can get. All they need to do is win 2 more rounds and they win the match. It's done. And as they transition over to defense, they're looking like they're going to be able to do that. They've been very strong so far, and they've been winning all of their fights. We saw Obey seemingly the team that was winning their fights in the day on the first map, but that transition happened in map number 2, and it seems to have stayed locked in for Cloud9. So, a lot of this is coming down to just winning your fights outright, because the strategy level of the game is it's fine for both teams, honestly. The setups, the roams, the fallbacks, it's looking great for Obey. As much as they're not being able to make it work, it just seems like as soon as it comes down to that, final confrontation over by the site, they fall apart.
Yeah, I mean, the first 2 rounds, I think more than anything, it was the offsite play of Obey that was most lacking. It was made up for by strong anchor play, and I think that tightened up too. Their roam got a little bit better as it progressed there on defense, but I mean, if Clubhouse is a defender-favored map, this is bad position, for Obey to find themselves in. Anywho, we're going to throw to a very short break. We'll be back in just a moment to take you through the second half of our final matchup between these two teams. Thank you so much for your patience. Welcome back to the U.S. Nationals, and it's going to be our final half of the final matchup of the first matchup.
I like how we have to intro that. I like we get to intro the final half of a map.
It's the final half of the third map, which is the final map of the first matchup of 2 matchups for today.
Today has been silly.
I mean, it's been a very good contest between these 2 teams. Clubhouse has been very exciting so far. Unfortunately for fans of Obey, they haven't put up the best effort in terms of the way that they've been defending, but now they're going to get a crack at attack. How is that going to work over the next, possible 2 rounds? Maybe more?
I don't think it's going to change anything. The way that Cloud9 have been playing so far, they look fantastic. And Obey, on the other hand, seem like they've kind of just fallen asleep at the wheel. I'm not sure what happened to them coming off of the first map, but Cloud9 look in full control.
Yeah, I mean, Cloud9 has been able to really make the best of the opportunities that have presented themselves. And even then, there were 2 rounds in particular that I harped on them for. They used next to no hard breach whatsoever and still won a cache CCTV attack. And it blows me away that they're able to get away with this when they would be punished under most other circumstances. Is this just simply that Cloud9 is having a great day? Is that Clubhouse is maybe not Obey's best map? Well, that's something to keep in mind as we head into, the second half. But like I said, it's 4-1 C9.
Yeah.
We could only be looking at 2 more rounds, and that's it. And that's all it would take.
I think even, we do know for a fact, this is the one thing, too, that to take away. Clubhouse is a defender-sided map. Expressly defender-sided. And the fact that we just saw 4 successful attacks from Cloud9 makes it, to me, hard to believe that Obey is going to start a comeback here in the second half. I can imagine it, sure, but I don't think it's very likely. Cloud9 are definitely right now in a great position to just end this best of 3 outright, and I wouldn't be surprised if they do it in just 2 rounds. But, even if they don't do it in 2 rounds, Obey's got to win 3 to get back into an even scoreline, and then they've got to win 2 more if they want to get the win without avoiding overtime. So it's a tall task.
I mean, the fact that both these teams have now had this bit of a prolonged break between the first half and the second half means that you could have the time for Obey to recover and be able to get their footing. They made some pretty big mistakes. There was a team kill that got thrown into the middle of the mix as well that just really screams to the fact that you're not exactly in the best shape as a team, working around one another. So with this break being given to these 2 teams, does Obey, really put their nose to the grindstone and realize, look, we got to come back? Or do you spend it fighting? Because there's a lot of teams that will take a reprieve from, the action. And what ends up happening is instead of actually taking the time to do what they should do, which is maybe laugh, maybe joke, maybe be a bit lighter and realize this is not the end of the world, they just end up fighting with each other and yelling at each other, and all that anger manifests itself, and the play just continues to drop off.
We don't know that that's necessarily going to happen, right? It could be that this is exactly what Obey needs to balance out. The one thing that gives me pause on that theory, though, is, after losing round after round, then a team kill, and then you're losing more rounds, and it's just looking so bad. And they managed to salvage that 1 cache defense, but to me, that was due to the individual efforts of Bosco, and the fact that Cloud9 were so fixated on taking Garage. We've been seeing that from them throughout their entire attack half. It's constantly take Garage, take Garage, take Garage, and most teams have chosen to kind of do away with that strategy. While some teams will pressure Garage and take it if there's an opportunity to push it, not everybody's really, on the Capitao and grenade the people on Catwalk and then push the site strategy. That seems to have taken a back seat for most squads, whereas Cloud9's still leaning into it heavy. It worked out for them everywhere else, but I feel as though this could be a 5-0 right now if they weren't so focused on that 1 round. And you touched on this also, where instead of pushing from Garage, maybe they could start trying to open up the server wall, start pressuring from that angle. All that said, I mean, I'm sitting here, I'm critiquing the team that's up 4-1. So they're in a great position to win this outright, and they will go to the basement. Church, for the first defense of the second half.
Obviously, you're going to have the Castle get brought. And it's funny because you see Castle and Rook coming out. What do they come equipped with? Oh, impact grenades. What do you need to stop that front hatch over top of the bomb site that's inside a kitchen? Impact grenades.
Yeah.
And I mean, Benji failed to do it when they were on defense, but it was still a good look and usually works most of the time. He picked the left when he really should have gone right. I believe that's called the Kansas City Shuffle, which is when you look left and they look right.
Mm-hmm.
So there you have it. And of course, he looked left when he should have looked right.
Unfortunate timing. It does happen.
Unfortunate timing. I mean, you have 2 impact grenades. He could have possibly gone for it again, but I think at that point they realized that let's just contest the open hatch. Goddess dropped through that open hatch and they got a kill. So I mean, even opening up that hatch,
it
didn't really help Cloud9 all that much.
It also is very inconsistent. Impact tricking the kitchen hatch can be hit or miss. And at times, your impact is going to get all of them. Sometimes you get half of them. Sometimes it doesn't get any of them. It happens. Now, this time around, they still have it as or Cloud9 is going to have it as an option. Not Obey this time. As the sides have swapped. Rook also being brought is kind of interesting to me. Now, of course, yes, more impacts, right? But is it really necessary to bring an operator like Rook? Is he the right decision? There are other choices that have impacts, and they haven't even used the impacts. They're going to be bringing a deployable shield to allow for relaxing to anchor over by the Arsenal shelf. That's interesting. You don't see that position played very commonly because it's exposed to so many angles, but you can see that Cloud9 is keen on using it here. I want to know what's going to happen when the engagement actually meets the shield. No strategy survives contact with the enemy, as the saying goes, and that's the sort of one that is looking very rickety.
I like that you call it rickety, because it's a way to describe a lot of these strats here is that they look a little rickety, old, wooden, not exactly working well.
All right, fine, but the overall setup here for Cloud9 is all right, though they do have some things that won't necessarily work out well when they actually get into a fight. That's the overlying call. However, based on their performance as individual players, I don't think it's going to matter. I think that once Obey actually gets into the fight, they're probably going to struggle. Flashbang's going through the drop, or well, right next to the drop, to try and allow Skies to open it up. He knows that there are impacts just below him, and he's wary of it. But we'll see if they work out or if they don't. Whether or not the drop-down gets opened will be the tell. Looks like one set of impacts will clear out one set of Excaros. Flashes will actually flash Skies as well as potentially anyone underneath. And the impact clears it once more. So, the Arsenal drop-down successfully held out by Cloud9 thanks to the impact tricking. Well done.
So, and I mean, you also saw Foxay lose an awful lot of HP there, too.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty big success for Obey to be able to open that one up. They'll bring the double Heart Breacher combo as well. So if you see the Thermite be able to get in towards Church, he can do some good work there. But instead he's positioned inside of that dirt tunnel, and wow, a nice double up there on Nalaxing from Skies as well as Adam. Adam almost finding Death, but Death will evade him just for the time being. A big double kill lined up for Goddess, but she'll only walk away with one for the time being. She'll pivot along with Mark to try and take out Skies. You've still got Benji down there, and there you go. Goddess will tear right through her. Bosco coming in. He'll manage to find Retro as he sweeps right into the site, finds a second, as he'll get the scalp of Foxay. It's a 2v1, as Adam has been down. Mark is just sitting and waiting, and Bosco will need to fetch the diffuser, and they're just going to keep away from the action. Match point in favor of Cloud9.
Yeah, 5-1, just like that. And you got to imagine a lot of that is due to the fact that the kitchen dropdown was denied so readily. Kind of surprised by that fact. And I would have imagined that Obey would have more tricks up their sleeves in order to get that opened up. They did manage to do damage, like we talked about, to Retro, who was lit up substantially. But at the same time, it was not enough to salvage the round. And simply waiting was all that Cloud9 needed to do. Now they're going to go to the Master defense over by Jim. And this is a good sight, especially with Maverick as an operator being banned out. He is so influential here And you can see both hard breachers being brought out by Obey as they were being brought by Cloud9, but yeah, it's not gonna change the way that this site is played, not really. And most of the hard destruction is focused on Jacuzzi balcony wall. That's like the main pivot point for the attack. They're gonna need to open that up no matter what. And the cool thing is they have the Habana, so that's gonna be made so much easier. And you could just open up prone level, or actually, what am I even saying? You can't impact trick that anymore, but it is going to make opening that up a lot easier, because if nothing else, you have the excess of hard destruction.
Yeah, I mean, the impact trick on the Jacuzzi wall was so important for the defenders. It made defending this site infinitely easier. I mean, Gym Master is still very defendable, but not where it was.
The problem with the impact tricking on that wall in particular is not impact tricking as a thing, because impact tricking is fine. It's perfectly reasonable. The problem was that it was one-way impact tricking. So the fact that the little metal thing above was blocking the grenades but not the impacts. So as a defender, you could deny the hard destruction, but as an attacker, you can't throw a flash or a grenade over to try and deny the impacting. That was the issue. You know, impact tricking as a thing is great, but yeah, that did really upset the attackers quite a bit, and it was a good thing that they fixed. Now, Obey, obviously, going to be keen to use their hard destruction to open up that wall. There is a mute jammer in play, though very likely one on Jacuzzi wall, which is going to slow down the push, but it seems like the mute jammer has been taken care of. So whatever means it has been taken care of, and that wall sounds like it got opened up. The drone will detect a roaming Jaeger on the east side of the building. Good work to Obey to get that information in hand. And now Bosco, with so little HP, still going to be able to play in this round.
These mute jammers here might stop the drones from just being able to gather all this information from Obey, which they desperately need. Skies will get pulverized by Foxay. That machine gun just rips right through what little was left of him. And Bosco, so low on HP. This does not bode well for Obey whatsoever. They'll stay on match point for C9, finding themselves at a big advantage. Giving up cash and CCTV control, Obey does have something that they need that's going to be a crown jewel in their defense, but more importantly, they need to try to isolate the players on site and cut them down one by one. That bathroom is essentially a fortress, and if played correctly, can really help the defense be able to stick out a plant. Second Claymore is going to go down here, and Obey will begin to circle the wagons.
Adams likely to open up that bathroom wall in due time, but he's got to deal with the pressure from below as well. This is such a great setup from Cloud9. All they need to do is wait, and that's what they've been doing throughout the rest of the round. Smokes and firebolts are getting prepped from Obey. Oh no, and Retro will take out Adam, and that is such a huge prong of the attack just lost. The east side has yet to be cleared out, and the Jaeger is still going to be in play over there. Potentially could get some kills, but he's going to choose to rotate over to construction. Probably the right call. Retro trying to hold the push into Jim with his pistol out. My man will get the first kill for Obey, but Mark and Laxing shut everybody else out, leaving just my man, and Cloud9 take the map and the match. They will go to the finals.
So you've got Noble, you've got Space Station, and now you've got Cloud9, all of whom will be competing at the USN Finals later this year. Excellent job from Cloud9 being able to come in and honestly just breeze right through this whole tourney. 2-0 over Mouse, looking pretty decisive. It got a bit scary there for C9 fans, especially on Consulate. It really looked like Obey had fired up the War Machine. But then they fell off on Oregon, and I mean, after winning 6-3, they were only able to put 3 rounds on the board, whereas Cloud9 was able to put 12. And that is obviously a huge problem. You cannot make up that ground on one map on Clubhouse. Try as much as Obey may.
You know, work. It was looking like the match that we were all theorizing it would be so close, but after the first map, it just didn't go that way. And because of that, Cloud9 just able to keep the ball rolling in their favor. Now, that Clubhouse was so dominant. You know, I was expecting going into it that it was going to be a lot more back and forth. You know, Clubhouse as a map typically plays out defense, defense, defense. But as soon as, honestly, as soon as Cloud9 got themselves up 3 rounds on attack, at that point I'm already thinking to myself, wow, it's over. This is done. Even if Obey managed to win the next 2 rounds, it looks like Cloud9 has it. But MVP for this match, we'll bring it up on your screen. My nominated MVP was for Cloud9, and I nominate Goddess, as I think her play today was truly excellent, especially on the first 2 maps. While they weren't able to get the first map of Consulate, she did do a lot of work for her team. And yeah, that's who I think should get that vote.
I'm going with Mr. D-Money, Mr. Dylan Bosco the D-Bird himself. Always huge clutch potential. He's a great player. He's got terrific game sense. And even when his teams fall short,
yeah,
he still is usually able to pull more than his fair share of weight. He plays roles that oftentimes are not enviable roles for people to play. He's usually got pretty tough assignments, and he still does very well despite that, getting very clutch kills and helping keep his team in the thick of it.
That's actually why another reason why I give the vote over to Goddess. It's the same thing, really. She gets a lot of those roles that are not great for accomplishing, like for getting a bunch of kills or just looking fantastic. And she manages to make it work regardless. Yes. And especially today, I think she did excellent. Now, those are your MVP votes. Now, of course, you can vote for those, and we'll have it up, the poll up shortly if you want to. And only one can win, technically. Even though the match is already over, you can still technically vote for the team that lost, but whatever.
You just gonna throw shade at me like that, man?
Well, I didn't do anything.
You just gonna throw shade at me in this well-lit studio?
There's a lot of lights around. It's impossible.
It's feeling really cold over here. I'm in the shade, man. I can't believe you do that. Obviously, vote for Bosco. Nobody else. No one else.
Vote for Goddess.
Don't listen.
Just saying.
Nope.
Vote for Goddess. Bosco lost the match.
In just a second, you're going to get to do the interview.
Woohoo!
How long has it been since you've done an interview?
I don't know, like a year.
Yeah, because you haven't done an interview since I've been around.
Since you started. When you started casting, we were thinking about doing like half and half interviews.
Half and half interviews.
And then, when it started out, I was just like, you know what, he's great at doing interviews, just let him do the interviews.
I had a contract drawn up, so it's specified that I only get the green M&Ms in the dressing room, and that I also do all the interviews. But
all right. Well, I'm going to be going into an interview with Foxay from Cloud9. We'll be bringing that up shortly. Hey, Fox, how's it going?
It's going good. How are you?
It's going great. Now, a couple things I want to talk to you about, most notably on the attacking side. When you were going for a cash push, the strategy you guys chose to use was taking into the garage. And that's something that some teams have been kind of shying away from recently. And I feel like it was a struggle for you guys, but you made it work. What was the thought process behind that?
Garage is just kind of a key point that you need to get depending on what strat you do. Mm-hmm. So investing all that utility, once you get in, you're pretty much like halfway into the site because the server's right there. So, I mean, it's worth it. We just kind of pushed through, and it worked out.
On the other half, when you went over to defense, one thing I noticed is that your holds were very slow. And by that, I mean just incredibly passive. What did you read from Obey that caused you guys to make that decision?
Well, Obey's an aggressive team. They know how to play together really aggressively. Bosco, knows how to entry. Skies knows how to entry. My man knows how to entry. All of those players know how to just run into site, get a free pick. So we just kind of tried to play a little more passive so that we wouldn't get picked and play together as a team so that we could just focus on getting our trades.
Now, overall, for the match as a whole, you lost the first map. What was it that allowed you to rally going into the second 2 maps? Considering your map picked was Consulate, if I'm not mistaken. Going into your opponent's map, what gave you that kick to get the win?
I mean, even though they picked Oregon and we picked Consulate, I think both teams were happy with the 3 maps that we got, and we knew we would probably be playing these 3 maps. So I don't really think that, the pick really made that much of a difference. They played really well in Consulate, and then we played well on their map. It was just kind of who brought the newer stuff, I guess.
All right, fair enough. Is there anything you'd like to say to your fans or the viewers before we end the interview?
No, that's it. We'll see you guys at Nationals.
All right. Good to talk to you, Fox.